Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. In such a situation, even if Indra wanted to go back on his word in the future, it would already be too late. In any case, Kaito now had the strength, the status, and the moral high ground. Regardless of the process, from this day forward, he could rightfully lead the entire Uchiha clan, both the living and the dead. With his position secured, Kaito selected willing and capable clan members for battle based on their desires and strength. He then provided them with prepared vessels, allowing them to regain physical forms capable of participating in combat. As for those who no longer wished to fight, Kaito also provided basic paper dolls as vessels. The clan members who received physical forms were overjoyed, embracing their loved ones. Finally, Kaito met his mother for the first time. Kaito. Kazumi tightly grasped Kaito's hand, her eyes never leaving him as if she couldn't get enough of looking at him. Kaito, feeling the intensity of Kazumi's emotions, was deeply moved but also somewhat at a loss. He opened his mouth, finally saying, "I'm sorry, and thank you, mother. I'm sorry that my birth cost you your life. Thank you for your efforts, which allowed me to be born into this world. No, you don't need to apologize to me, nor do you need to thank me." Kazumi, her eyes brimming with tears, looked at the somewhat awkward young man before her and gently touched his face. "I only made the choice any mother would make. It was us, your parents, who selfishly decided to bring you into this world. So, don't say you're sorry. You've done nothing wrong. Mother." Kaito listened to Kazumi's words and suddenly felt a weight lift from his shoulders, as if he had shed years of chains. Only at this moment did he truly understand his own feelings. Deep down, he had always carried guilt over his mother's death, even though he rationally knew it wasn't his fault. That old man really did affect me after all. Kaito gently hugged his mother, shooting a disdainful look at Akira, who stood to the side. "Humphrey." Akira snorted, his face dark, earning him a furious glare from Kazumi. Kaito, looking at his mother, who appeared even younger than Mikoto, and then at his father, who looked like a grumpy old man, couldn't help but curl his lip in disdain, giving Akira another look of contempt. Akira, furious, didn't expect his menacing expression to ignite Kazumi's anger. She turned and began hitting him relentlessly, though he didn't dare fight back. Kaito watched this scene with satisfaction, sharing a smile with Mikoto. Afterward, Kaito spoke with many others, reminiscing and catching up. Finally, he left Madara and Izuna behind, bidding farewell to the crowd before walking out of the King of Hell's palace alone. With his hands clasped together, he watched as the palace doors slowly closed and sank into the ground. Turning, he gazed at the endless sea before him. As the moon rose, his figure suddenly sank, merging into the flowing dragon vein energy before disappearing completely. Chapter 288, Hidden Leaf Village, in the guest room of the Namikaze household. Kaito's body emerged from a golden ripple, facing his paper clone in front of him. "You've worked hard." He flicked his wide sleeves, and the clone immediately transformed into a paper figure, flying into his sleeve. Sensing that the trio of the Namikaze family downstairs was still engaged in an endless conversation, with Kushina and Naruto's combined voices nearly matching 10 Minato's, Kaito decided to leap out of the room's window and land in the front yard. "Kaito? What are you doing?" Kaito turned around to see Minato poking his head out of a first-floor window. "Don't mind me. I'm heading to the Hidden Leaf Village Hospital." He waved his hand and walked out of the yard. Along the way, Kaito clearly sensed several well-hidden presences following him. He smiled indifferently and made his way straight to the Hidden Leaf Village Hospital. Night had fallen, but the Hidden Leaf Village Hospital was still brightly lit. Kaito leisurely entered the lobby and asked the on-duty medical ninja for Jiraiya's location. After receiving the answer, he took the stairs to the 3rd floor and stood in front of a hospital room door. He nodded to the 2 Anbu ninjas guarding the door. "Please inform them that I wish to see Senior Jiraiya." The 2 Anbu, wearing animal masks, exchanged glances, seemingly hesitant. At that moment, the hospital room door opened from the inside, and Jiraiya stepped out. "Senior Jiraiya, how is Lady Tsunada's condition?" Kaido asked proactively. She's holding up. Jiraiya's expression was unreadable as he walked past Kaido and headed to the side. Come on, I want to talk to you. Gladly. Kaido smiled and followed him. Jiraiya walked to the end of the corridor, opened the window, and leaned on the windowsill, silently gazing at the dim night scenery outside. The cold winter night breeze brushed his face, making his already numb expression even stiffer. Kaido stood quietly beside him, not rushing to speak. After a long while, Jiraiya turned his head and said, Tsunade just woke up. Kaido nodded silently. Her condition is very bad. Jiraiya's voice was low, and he forced a smile. I never thought that the most renowned medical expert in the ninja world would be powerless against her own body now. This outcome was something I had warned about long ago. Unsealing the seal consumed too much life force, and it cannot be replenished through treatment. Kaido thought to himself but didn't voice it, waiting for Jiraiya to continue. Can you contact Orochimaru? Jiraiya looked into Kaido's eyes. Yes. Kaido raised an eyebrow, roughly understanding what was coming. Tsunade just proposed an idea. She wants to clone her own body. Jiraiya continued. And then transfer her soul into the clone? Kaido nodded. That might be a viable solution. Jiraiya asked. Do you think this method is feasible? Kaido shook his head directly. No, I'm not very familiar with these technologies, so I can't say for sure. But it does seem possible. Indeed, Orochimaru is more skilled in such matters. Jiraiya requested. Please help me contact Orochimaru. No problem. Kaido was also somewhat interested in this matter. Although Tsunade was a tool he had his eye on, now that he had reclaimed the Uchiha clan's accumulated elite forces over a millennium, he wasn't too concerned about other tools. Signing a contract with Tsunade would merely make it easier for him to control Hidden Leaf Village. He reached into his sleeve and pulled out a communication paper doll to contact Orochimaru, connecting to him. Uakaku. Kaido-kun, good evening. Orochimaru's hoarse voice came through. What brings you to call me so late? Good evening, Senior Orochimaru. Kaido glanced at Jiraiya. Actually, it's Senior Jiraiya who asked me to contact you. Orochimaru let out a sinister laugh. Uakaku. Jiraiya, huh? Orochimaru, I have something important to discuss with you. Jiraiya spoke urgently. Oh? Then speak, though I don't think there's much to discuss with you. Orochimaru replied coldly. Orochimaru. Jiraiya's expression changed several times, but he finally said directly. Tsunade needs your help. Jiraiya, you know me. Orochimaru's voice remained icy and slimy. We are no longer comrades. I won't do anything without benefit. I thought you felt differently about me and Tsunade. Jiraiya replied self-deprecatingly. Uakaku. Indeed, I do feel differently. You're not wrong about that, Jiraiya. Orochimaru laughed strangely again. Because Tsunade isn't as annoying as you are. Then. Jiraiya leaned closer to the small paper doll in Kaido's hand. No, even Tsunade can't expect me to provide help for free. Orochimaru firmly dashed his hopes. So, what do you want? Jiraiya asked directly. Orochimaru, however, only said. That depends on what Tsunade needs me to provide. Don't worry, for Tsunade's sake, I won't propose an unequal trade. Uakaku. Cloning technology and the living corpse reincarnation technique. Jiraiya whispered. Impossible. Orochimaru immediately refused. Jiraiya grew anxious. You didn't say that earlier, Orochimaru. You're quite desperate. Orochimaru laughed again. It seems Tsunade's body has suddenly taken a turn for the worse. Could it be related to the Akatsuki's invasion of Hidden Leaf Village? Knowing that Orochimaru had witnessed the entire scene, Kaido raised an eyebrow. Jiraiya had no choice but to quietly explain Tsunade's condition and plans. I see. Unfortunately, that method won't work. Orochimaru poured cold water on the idea without hesitation. Why not? Jiraiya stared wide-eyed at the paper doll. Uakaku. The cloning technology I currently possess is not mature. Orochimaru provided a detailed explanation. Cloned bodies are vastly different from naturally born ones and are highly likely to suffer genetic collapse. I understand, but Tsunade's current body is already in bad shape. So, what would it take for you to help? Jiraiya pressed. Uakaku. It seems you're really persistent. Orochimaru's voice grew colder. In any case, the living corpse reincarnation technique is my secret. I won't hand it over. Jiraiya wanted to argue further, but Orochimaru had already redirected the conversation. Kaido-kun, I've fulfilled your request. I hope you will keep your end of the bargain. Uakaku. Amidst his laughter, Orochimaru cut off the communication. You. Jiraiya was stunned, then turned and punched the windowsill. Senior Jiraiya, if I may ask, Was seeking Orochimaru's help Lady Tsunoda's idea? Kaido put away the communication paper doll. No, it was my idea. Jiraiya admitted. Tsunoda wanted to rely on her own strength to accomplish this. Then, Kaido looked into Jiraiya's eyes. Does Lady Tsunoda know that there's another option available through me? Chapter 289. After listening to Kaido's words, Jiraiya averted his gaze. No, I can't accept your proposal. It's practically suicide. In my opinion, it's no different from what Lady Tsunoda wants to do herself. Kaido turned and walked toward the hospital room. It's just a matter of changing bodies. I'll propose it to Lady Tsunoda myself. Wait. Jiraiya's hand landed on Kaido's shoulder. Let me think about it some more. Fine. Kaido agreed readily. I'll be staying at Minato's place for the next few days. With that, he strode off toward the staircase. Jiraiya watched Kaido's figure disappear from his sight, then turned back to the window and let the cold wind blow on his face for a long time. When Kaido returned to the Namikaze household, he found the trio still making a ruckus. Kushina, in high spirits late at night, had started cooking enthusiastically. Kaido glanced at Kushina, who was bustling around the kitchen, and Naruto, who was waiting eagerly at the doorway, then turned to Minato with a questioning look. Kushina said she wants Naruto to taste his mother's cooking. Minato said, gazing tenderly at his wife and son with a blissful smile. Kaido looked at him with a complicated expression and said softly. If I recall correctly, your wife Kushina once asked my sister for cooking lessons. But after teaching her for a while, Mikoto gave up. Don't say that. Minato still wore a dreamy expression. Kushina's cooking has improved a lot since then. Really? Kaido didn't believe it at all. Minato nodded firmly. Yeah, before, her cooking would give me a stomachache, but now it doesn't at all. You. Kaido's gaze turned into one of blatant disdain. Your standards are way too low. Ha ha ha. It's fine, I'm here anyway. Minato said nonchalantly. Now that I'm no longer Hokage, I can spend more time with Kushina and Naruto. Cooking for my family every day is a kind of happiness. That might not last. Kaido poured cold water on his optimism. Now that Lady Tsunoda has lost her combat ability, Hidden Leaf Village might ask you, the fourth Hokage, to come out of retirement. No way, I won't agree to that. Minato shook his head. Kaido raised an eyebrow but didn't comment further. I'm done. Kushina walked out of the kitchen, holding plates in both hands. Wow. It smells amazing. You're amazing, Dappeo. Naruto cheered enthusiastically. Kushina smiled proudly and, noticing Kaido sitting on the couch, quickly invited him. Kaido-kun, you're back. Join us for some food. I'm really sorry, Kushina-ne, but I just ate something outside. I'm full, so I'll have to pass on your kind offer. Kaido apologized with a smile. What a shame. Minato stood up and patted Kaido's shoulder. You missed out on Kushina's specialty dish. You really have no luck when it comes to food. Really, Minato, it's not that good, Databane. Kushina pretended to be modest. Yes, I have no luck when it comes to food. Kaido nodded seriously, then gave Minato a push. Go on, don't mind me. Naruto, full of energy, busied himself setting the table, and the family of three sat down to eat. Let's eat. Naruto eagerly picked up his chopsticks and put some food into his mouth. Huh? His expression froze instantly. How is it? Your dad has always praised this dish. Kushina looked at him expectantly, waiting for compliments. This. Naruto was about to speak. This dish is as delicious as ever. Minato immediately cut him off. Yeah. Naruto blinked and nodded in agreement. I'm glad you like it. Kushina kept serving food to Minato and Naruto. If you like it, eat more, Naruto, Minato. Kaido, sitting far away on the couch, watched as the father and son kept putting Kushina's lovingly prepared food into their mouths. He couldn't help but shiver. This must be love. Look at Naruto, practically rolling his eyes with every swallow, yet still managing to give a thumbs up with great difficulty. In the end, all the food ended up in the stomachs of the father and son, while Kushina didn't eat a bite. Minato even put on an act of apology. It was so delicious, I'm sorry you worked so hard to make it but didn't get to eat any yourself. It's fine. As long as you two enjoyed it, I feel happy. Kushina beamed even more. The moment she turned to the kitchen to clean up, Minato and Naruto immediately covered their mouths and rushed to the bathroom. After a long while, the two collapsed on the couch, utterly drained, yet still forcing smiles and claiming they were just too full. Kaido sat across from them, propping his head up with his hand, watching them with an amused smile. Dad, starting tomorrow, you should handle the cooking. Naruto groaned, rubbing his stomach. Alright, we can't let Kushina overwork herself. Minato nodded in agreement. I don't mind working hard, Databane. Kushina walked over. I love cooking for you too. No, 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 no. Naruto shook his head vigorously. We can't let you overwork yourself. Minato stood up, took Kushina's hand, and sat her down beside him. Looking into her eyes, he asked. Do you not like my cooking, Kushina? Of course not. Kushina gripped his hand tightly. Then I'll leave it to you, Minato. The two held hands, gazing at each other and smiling, surrounded by a sweet atmosphere. Why do I feel like I'm really too full? Naruto rubbed his stomach in confusion. It's late, so I won't disturb you any longer. Kaito stood up. Good night, Minato, Kushina, Naruto. With that, he headed upstairs to the guest room. Wait for me. Naruto, following his instincts, quickly followed. Instinctive people are really sharp like that. After exchanging good nights, Kaido and Naruto returned to their respective rooms. The night passed without incident. The next morning, when Kaido came downstairs, he saw Minato busy in the kitchen alone. You're really going all out, he said, walking to the kitchen door. You woke up early, didn't you? Minato turned around, giving him a look that said, I don't know what you're talking about. As long as you're happy. Kaido's words were cut off by the sudden ringing of the doorbell. Kaito walked to the door and opened it to find Jiraiya standing outside. Good morning, Senior Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sensei. Come try my cooking. Minato immediately greeted him warmly. Kaito. Jiraiya looked at the young man with a somewhat dejected expression. I don't know if everything I've done is right, but in any case, Tsunade wants to see you. Chapter 290, let's go then. Since Jiraiya was in a hurry, the two of them skipped breakfast and left immediately. By the way, Kaito turned back as they were leaving. Minato, I think I've figured out what's going on with the mutation in your soul. Take some time to feel out the unexpected power you've gained. After saying this, he smiled mysteriously. Unexpected power? Minato watched their retreating figures, then looked down at his right arm, which was rolled up at the sleeve. With a thought, deep purple patterns instantly spread across his entire forearm. Hidden Leaf Village Hospital. Inside the hospital room, Tsunade sat weakly on the bed, her breathing faint and labored. Sakura sat by the bed, trying to remain composed as she reported the general situation of the village to Tsunade, holding a document in her hands. That's enough. Tsunade's voice, once strong and commanding, was now frail and weak. Tell Shizune to continue with the current arrangements. Yes, Master. Sakura stood up, clutching the documents. I'll go tell Shizune. Please rest well, Master. Go ahead. Tsunade closed her eyes. Yes. Sakura responded softly, but as she turned around, tears streamed down her face. She left the room quietly, carefully closing the door behind her, and finally couldn't hold back any longer, covering her mouth as she rushed out. Sakura? Jiraiya, who had just reached the third floor, saw Sakura's distraught expression and immediately grew tense. What happened? Lord Jiraiya. Seeing Jiraiya's anxious expression, Sakura quickly shook her head. Master is fine. It's all right. Tsunade will be fine. Jiraiya offered a stiff consolation, then turned to look at Kaito behind him. Let's go see Lady Tsunade's condition first. Kaito nodded. Lord Kaito. Master. Please, I beg you to take care of her. Sakura, seeing the young man behind Jiraiya, suddenly felt a glimmer of hope in her eyes and pleaded through her tears. You have things to do, so go ahead. Jiraiya glanced at the documents in Sakura's hands and walked past her toward the hospital room. Leave this to us. Kaito nodded at Sakura and followed Jiraiya. Jiraiya gestured to the Anbu ninja guarding the door and knocked on it. Tsunade, I've brought Kaito. He said loudly. Let Kaito come in alone. Tsunade's weak voice came from inside. Jiraiya's expression changed, and he opened his mouth to object, but in the end, he said nothing and silently stepped aside. Kaito didn't mind Jiraiya's wariness and walked straight to the door. Lady Tsunade, I'm coming in. He gave a warning before pushing the door open and entering. You're here. Tsunade, who now looked like an old woman with gray hair and withered skin, weakly opened her eyes to look at him. Sit. Kaito closed the door behind him and sat down by the bed as instructed. He calmly observed Tsunade's condition and said directly. It seems your condition is quite severe. This was within your expectations, right? Tsunade's voice was broken and faint, like a whisper. I did anticipate your current condition. Kaito spoke bluntly. It's a pity that Lord Jiraiya made the choice he did back then. I don't blame him. Tsunade's eyes still retain their former brilliance, a stark contrast to her current appearance. If it were me, I wouldn't want to just become a dead person either. It seems this is a difference in perspective between you and me. Kaido mentioned this briefly, then continued. So, what is your choice now? To continue living in this extremely weakened state, or to sign a contract with me and gain a new life? Tsunade didn't answer directly. Instead, she stared into Kaido's eyes and said, You want to tie the entire Leaf Village to your ship? You could say that. Kaido didn't mince words. But, if I may be so bold, this is also an opportunity for Hidden Leaf Village. It seems. You're very confident. Tsunade's eyes flashed with surprise. Yes. Kaito stood up and looked down at Tsunade. To be honest, at this point, Hidden Leaf Village's strength isn't that important to me. You. Tsunade's eyes moved as she carefully observed Kaido. You seem to have changed. Somewhat. Kaito nodded. Lady Tsunade is quite observant. I have indeed undergone some changes. Not only had he gained the full power of the Great King Inma and the accumulated strength of the Uchiha clan over a millennium, but he had also shed the hidden shackles in his heart. Now, his cultivation was on the verge of a breakthrough. Perhaps in the near future, he would reach the legendary level of the Great Onmyoji, Ibno Mai. However, he didn't elaborate, simply smiling faintly with an air of confidence. Hidden Leaf Village isn't a place where I can make decisions alone. Tsunade lowered her gaze. That's fine. Kaido didn't mind. When the time comes to choose sides, I believe everyone will make their choice. Such confidence. Looking at Kaido's radiant self-assurance, Tsunade suddenly realized that she had already grown old. Even though her body had aged, she had never truly felt this way before. But in this moment, she suddenly felt that she truly was old. All these years, even though she had maintained a youthful appearance, her heart had gradually aged without her realizing it. I do indeed have no shortage of confidence. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken on the responsibility of saving the world. Kaito walked to the window and pulled open the thick curtains. The dim room was instantly filled with light, and Tsunade squinted uncomfortably. Moreover, what I want to do isn't just passively defending against invasions from beyond the heavens. He turned around, the thin winter morning sunlight casting a warm glow on his face. One day, I will set foot on the land of the Otsutsuki clan and make them pay dearly for their ambition and greed. Tsunade looked at the young man bathed in the morning light. From Kaido, she saw the confidence to change the world. That kind of confidence had only existed in the dream-filled days of their youth. If you want Hidden Leaf Village to stand firmly by your side, Tsunade couldn't help but speak. You need to summon my grandfather and convince him. Let's address your problem first, Lady Tsunade. Kaido turned back to the bed and looked directly into Tsunade's eyes. Now, please make your choice. Indeed. I can't bear to just linger on in this state. Tsunade looked at her emaciated arm, realizing that even clenching her fist was now a difficult task, and she turned her gaze away in dissatisfaction. Even though I am indeed old, I still want to see how far a young person like you can go. You won't regret this choice, Kaito stated with certainty. Chapter 291, Underground Base in the Northern Land of Frost. Black Zetsu, like a liquid, separated from White Zetsu's body, his cold gaze fixed on Obito, who was sitting on a stone chair. What are you planning, Obito? Black Zetsu's mouth twisted into a grin as his hoarse voice echoed. What are you talking about? Obito propped his head on his hand, looking at Black Zetsu with disinterest. Don't play dumb, Obito. Black Zetsu leaned forward, his dark face coming close to Obito's. Although we failed to capture the Ninetales, Nagato has obtained a portion of its chakra through his deal with Orochimaru. According to Madara-sama's plan, you should now retrieve the Rinnegan from Nagato and resurrect Madara-sama. Obito let out a mocking laugh and said in a dismissive tone. Wouldn't it be interesting to see how far Nagato can go on his own? It seems you intend to defy Madara-sama's orders. Black Zetsu walked to Obito's side and tapped on Obito's chest. Don't forget your place, Obito. And what is your place, Black Zetsu? Obito reached out and grabbed Black Zetsu's neck with a fierce grip. Humphrey. Black Zetsu's body turned liquid again, slipping through Obito's fingers and pooling on the ground. Only his face emerged from the black, amorphous substance. I am Madara-sama's creation, the embodiment of his will. You'd better follow the original plan, Obito. Obito stood up and stepped on Black Zetsu's face, looking down at the black puddle on the ground. Don't order me around. His voice was filled with killing intent. I will ensure the success of the Eye of the Moon plan, but that doesn't mean I'll follow your commands. Don't be so angry, Obito. White Zetsu's comical voice chimed in. Our goals are the same. Black Zetsu's plan isn't unreasonable. Obito. Black Zetsu flowed out from under Obito's foot and reattached himself to White Zetsu's body. Sorry, Obito. Naughty children get punished, you know. White Zetsu's voice rang out again, and his hands began forming hand seals. Are you trying to activate the cursed seal on my heart? Obito made no move to stop Black Zetsu's actions. You! Black Zetsu exclaimed in shock. How is this possible? You shouldn't be able to destroy the cursed seal on your own. True. Obito walked over to Zetsu and removed his mask. If I tried to destroy the cursed seal on my own, it would suppress my actions. Then how did you do it? Black Zetsu sensed something was off and suddenly felt a pang of unease. Because Obito has been dead for a long time. The blood puppet tore open its clothes, revealing a fresh sword wound that pierced through its heart. Despite the passage of time, the wound looked as if it had just been inflicted. This is not good, we need to leave. White Zetsu shouted. Damn it. Black Zetsu quickly detached from White Zetsu's body and merged into the ground. Useless. The blood puppet let out an eerie laugh, its body trembling violently. You're not going anywhere, Black Zetsu. What the hell are you? Black Zetsu emerged from the ground again, shouting in frustration. You actually set up a barrier to seal off this entire place. It seems you're having fun. 4 paper dolls flew out of the blood puppet's body, transforming into Kaido. Master. The blood puppet immediately knelt respectfully on the ground. You did well. One of the paper clones walked forward and patted the blood puppet's head like it was a dog. I would do anything for you, Master. The blood puppet nuzzled the paper clone's hand affectionately. Damn you, Kaido. Black Zetsu reattached himself to White Zetsu, his aura filled with malice. Wood style, wood spikes technique. Giant thorns sprouted from White Zetsu's body, rapidly piercing in all directions. Although my main body isn't here. The 4 paper clones joined their hands together. Dealing with you should still be more than enough. Ramyaku connection. The 4 figures were simultaneously enveloped in a golden mist. A rumbling sound echoed as the ground beneath them seemed to come alive, twisting and churning, shredding all the thorns into pieces. Scatter. The 4 golden figures flashed to the 4 corners of the stone chamber, crouching and slamming their hands on the ground. Ramyaku chains. Dense golden chains burst from the ground, writhing like a swarm of snakes as they coiled around Zetsu in the center. Ah! White Zetsu let out a piercing scream as his body was completely covered and dissolved by Black Zetsu. Kaido. Black Zetsu roared, transforming into a black tidal wave of viscous malice that surged upward, scattering the golden chains. Master. The blood puppet quickly turned intangible to avoid the attack. Don't worry. The 4 paper clones calmly formed hand seals in the face of the oncoming black liquid. Barrier, rise. The air trembled, the chains disappeared, and a transparent golden cube suddenly appeared, trapping all the black liquid inside. Kaido. Black Zetsu's upper body emerged from one side of the cube, pounding his hands against the transparent walls. Humphrey. The 4 paper clones moved again, each taking a position at the center of one of the cube's faces, placing their hands on the surface. Countless sealing formulas spread from the palms of the paper clones, quickly covering all 6 faces of the cube. Then, the paper clones retracted their hands and formed hand seals. Seal. The cube containing Black Zetsu rapidly shrank until it was the size of a palm, crystallizing into a small, square crystal. Sealing successful. One of the paper clones walked forward, picked up the golden crystal, and shook it, smiling happily as he looked at Black Zetsu trapped inside. Master succeeded. The blood puppet immediately leaned in. Hey. Now you're like a mosquito trapped in amber, Black Zetsu. Damn it. After scheming for 1,000 years, only to fail in an instant, Black Zetsu could hardly accept this reality. Kaido. His voice was filled with despair. Can't figure it out? The paper clone raised the crystal to eye level, looking at Black Zetsu, who was still thrashing inside the seal, with a mocking smile. Let me enlighten you. Obito died during the attack on Hidden Eddy Village. Master used Obito body to create me. The blood puppet raised its hand. I've been acting as Obito ever since. But I saw Obito retreat unharmed that time. Black Zetsu roared, still unwilling to believe it. That's because the paper clone shook the crystal again. I had already set up an illusionary barrier covering the entire Hidden Eddy village beforehand. You. Black Zetsu began to howl in despair. You infiltrated the scene where I met Mother, yet you never actively stopped the Akatsuki's actions. What are you planning? Of course. The paper clones spoke one after another. To defeat your mother. Use her as a sacrifice and nourishment. And rebuild the Yellow Spring Hell. Black Zetsu suddenly burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Arrogant fool. You actually want to bring Mother into this world willingly? You're doomed. Mother is a true god, undefeatable. Don't worry about that. The paper clone holding the crystal flashed with golden light, completely silencing Black Zetsu's voice, then handed the square crystal to the blood puppet. Take this to the main body. Chapter 292, Hidden Leaf Village. The fifth Hokage, Tsunade, soon reappeared in public and resumed her duties. The news of her recovery spread quickly, lifting the spirits of everyone in Hidden Leaf Village. Kaido once again sent a paper clone in his place to the Hyuga clan to undo the remaining caged bird seals, while his real body was summoned back to Mount Hama by another clone. Inside the laboratory, Kaito sat on a chair by the window, waiting. Before long, the blood puppet arrived before him using a space-time jutsu. Master. The blood puppet knelt before him and presented the items in its hands. The sealed crystal containing Black Zetsu and the Eight Tails chakra sealing talisman. Kaito took the items and placed them aside. Master, what are your next orders? The blood puppet asked respectfully. Proceed as planned. Kaito waved his hand. You may go. Yes. The blood puppet obediently vanished into thin air using its jutsu. Holding the sealing talisman and the crystal, Kaito turned and pushed open a hidden door in the wall, entering a secret chamber. Inside the dimly lit chamber, a simple wooden shelf covered an entire wall, filled with various items arranged in layers. Kaito placed the crystal containing Black Zetsu neatly on the shelf, then took down a wooden box sealed with a talisman from another layer. After removing the talisman from the box, he placed the Eight Tails chakra sealing talisman inside, then took out a red talisman marked with the character 49 from his sleeve and added it to the box before resealing it. Returning the box to its original position on the shelf, Kaito picked up the crystal containing Black Zetsu. A golden glow emanated from his hand, and the frozen Black Zetsu inside the small cube began moving again. Where is this? Black Zetsu seemed much calmer now. Welcome to the secret land of the Uchiha, Mount Hama, Black Zetsu. Kaito held the crystal up to his eyes, observing the creature inside. You must have heard of this place, right? Mount Hama. Even Mother couldn't find it. Black Zetsu said. I already considered you a threat, but I still underestimated you. Oh? Why do you say that? Kaito raised an eyebrow. Ever since learning of your existence, I've tried multiple times to eliminate you, yet failed every time. Even Obito's assassination attempt backfired and was exploited by you. Black Zetsu shrank into a small mass inside the crystal, its surface forming crude facial features. You bided your time until now, when Nagato has already gathered the chakra of all 9-tailed beasts, and Toby is on the verge of exposure, before finally making your move. You're a terrifying man, Kaito. I suspect your ambitions are greater than anyone's. Victors write history, that's all. Kaito replied indifferently. Don't worry, your Moon's Eye plan will proceed smoothly. You actually intend to face Mother? Black Zetsu pressed its face against the crystal. What gives you the courage to challenge her? Many things. Kaito held the golden crystal in his palm and walked to the center of the chamber. See this? As he stepped forward, a magic circle on the floor lit up, illuminating a large golden crystal at its center. You know what this is, don't you? That's... Black Zetsu's voice darkened. The will of the divine tree, sealed by Mother. Where did you get that? Kaito smiled. The will of the divine tree? Just as I suspected. I obtained this by breaking the Uchiha clan's ancestral stone tablet. To be honest, studying this seal has been immensely enlightening. Even the technique to seal you borrowed from it. Damn you, Hagoromo. So he hid this inside the tablet, Black Zetsu seethed with regret. Though it had altered the text Hagoromo left on the tablet, it never thought to check inside. Thank you, the Sage of Six Paths. Kaito paced around the spacious chamber, holding the crystal. Now, I have you, the will of the divine tree. He passed through another hidden stone door in the wall, descending a long staircase into another vast chamber. A soft glow from his hand illuminated the space. And these husks of the divine tree. He allowed Black Zetsu to see the massive trunks of the divine tree piled inside. Additionally, I've collected portions of the chakra from all 9-tailed beasts, and the power of King Inma is now entirely in my hands. He turned and walked back up the stairs. Whether it's the Uchiha or the Hyuga, they'll all submit to my research. Step by step, he climbed steadily. Tell me, with all these resources at my disposal, what do you think I'll uncover? And do you believe I can defeat your mother? You. Mother is invincible. Black Zetsu finally grasped the extent of Kaito's threat, and its confidence in Kaguya wavered slightly. Back in the first chamber, Kaito shook his head and placed the crystal containing Black Zetsu back on a shelf. Next, I'll dissect you piece by piece. He leaned down, bringing his eyes close to the crystal. As an extension of Kaguya's will, every secret you hold will be laid bare before me. Even if you somehow defeat Mother, your victory won't last. Black Zetsu snarled. The Otsutsuki clan will never abandon this planet's nursery. There are countless among them stronger than Mother. I look forward to meeting the Otsutsuki. I'll await them with anticipation." With those words, Kaido cast another spell, freezing Black Zetsu once more, then turned and left the chamber. Just as he concealed the chamber's entrance and prepared to exit the laboratory, a communication paper doll flew out from his sleeve. "Sasuke?" He extended his right hand, letting the doll stand on his palm. "Uncle, I heard the Akatsuki attacked Hidden Leaf Village." Sasuke's voice came through. Kaido replied. "You heard correctly. It did happen." Sasuke hesitated. "I just wanted to know the details. Also, Neji is worried about the Hyuga clan." "Don't worry, Naruto's fine," Kaito said. Sasuke immediately raised his voice. "Who asked about that idiot?" "Is that so?" Kaido chuckled. "Well, Kakashi and that girl Sakura are fine too. And Itachi is safe. I just wanted intel on the war." Sasuke grumbled. "Lastly, the Hyuga clan suffered some losses, but they were minimal." Kaido added. "Got it. I'll let Neji know." Sasuke said. "How are things with Orochimaru?" Kaido asked. "Not bad. We've handled some low-difficulty missions." Sasuke replied, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Neji and I even took down a few black market hideouts. As long as you're happy." Kaido didn't comment on Sasuke's black market trades. "By the way, I'll be taking you and Neji on a mission soon. Be ready." Chapter 293, Hidden Leaf Village, Uchiha Cemetery. Itachi continued his unchanging, tranquil daily life. Even the recent Akatsuki invasion hadn't disturbed this remote place. The paper clone of Kaito stationed within the cemetery's barrier didn't hide information from Itachi, so he now knew many secrets guided by Kaido's influence. Lately, Itachi had developed a love for reading, and Kaido fully supported it. Not only did Kaido's true self bring over a collection of books he had stored in Mount Hama, but he also had the hidden yokai across the shinobi world gather more. The Crow clan delivered them, adding many new volumes to the collection. Now, Itachi had built another wooden hut beside his cabin to store the growing library. Many of the books gathered by the yokai were ones even Kaido hadn't read, and he soon found himself engrossed as well. One day, Itachi suddenly said to Kaido, "People can only see what's right in front of them. Having grown up in Hidden Leaf Village, no matter how high I stood, I only ever saw the village. Looking back, I realize I overlooked many people and things I should have cared about. I hope Sasuke won't end up like me. Fortunately, he'll follow you and see a much broader world. You've changed a lot," Kaido remarked, setting down the scroll in his hands and looking up at Itachi. The fact that shinobi haven't progressed much over 1,000 years speaks volumes. Shinobi are taught how to kill from childhood. What we think about, pursue, and strive for is nothing but the refinement of killing techniques," Itachi said as he organized the bookshelf. "We spend our lives struggling to survive in blood and fire, never seeing the full picture of the world. Few ever bother to look up. Perhaps the third Hokage was one of the rare literate shinobi." Kaido chuckled sarcastically. He took great pride in expanding the will of fire, originally proposed by the first Hokage. "When I was young, I noticed how eagerly he gave his speeches at the Ninja Academy's opening ceremonies. In a way, the world has regressed over these 1,000 years." Itachi carefully flipped through an ancient text. "A millennium ago, when the emperor still ruled, many people contemplated the world from a higher perspective, leaving behind invaluable knowledge. But now, no one has that vision or a breadth of mind anymore. Compared to the third's will of fire, these texts were on an entirely different level. Perhaps cultural inheritance requires the right environment." Kaido picked up his book again. "These are treasures left behind by human civilization. As long as they still exist, they may prove useful someday. The more I learn, the more I realize how little I know." Itachi mused. "Maybe losing my ability to kill was a blessing in disguise. Though you realized some things too late, it's still good. You should have something to pursue in the rest of your life." Kaido glanced at the stacks of books filling the room. This world has lost the soil needed for certain knowledge. But who's to say that one day, this war-torn world won't change, and humanity won't need them again? Meanwhile, in the Hyuga clan compound, another paper clone of Kaido was busy. Over the past few days, as more clan members had their caged bird seals removed, some of the previously controlled main house members began to relent. The clan's atmosphere was slowly improving. After 3 days of continuous work, the paper clone had removed the seals from all the branch house members within Hidden Leaf Village. As the catalyst for the Hyuga's revolution, Kaito naturally faced cold glares from many main house supporters. He ignored their hostility and simply carried out his work methodically. Even the 4 elders, who, like Hayashi, had their chakra sealed, were forced by the clan to have their seals removed. Only the Hyuga members serving in the border patrols remained unsealed. The clan had already discussed a rotation plan with the reinstated Hokage to replace them with new members. With his task temporarily complete, the paper clone left the Hyuga compound amid gratitude from many and icy stares from others. Meanwhile, Kaido's true body, having left the Uchiha cemetery, quietly replaced the paper clone and arrived at a training ground where Minato was. Ever since Kushina took it upon herself to teach Naruto the Uzumaki clan sealing techniques, Minato had occasionally fled their terrifying home, shamelessly abandoning his son. According to Minato, poor Naruto had also tried to escape but was repeatedly suppressed. Finally, the infuriated Red Hot Habanero declared that if Naruto dared skip another lesson, his ridiculous full-cut photos would be plastered all over Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto immediately wilted. As expected of Kushina, Kaido remarked, his lips twitching. From what little he knew, Kushina had always been a fearless, strong-willed woman. After becoming the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, her temper only grew worse. And with Minato endlessly spoiling her, well, she was not someone to be trifled with. Let Naruto learn properly under Kushina, Minato said with a straight face. It's rare for her to teach him personally, and she's really enjoying it. Selling out his own son to please his wife? Classic Minato. Sharing a knowing look, Kaido got to the point. So, have you figured out the power you accidentally obtained? Minato rolled up his right sleeve, revealing that his entire forearm had turned purple. This power feels extremely dangerous, he said, flexing his hand. I haven't tested it on anyone. That was the right call. Kaido leaned in to examine Minato's arm before straightening up. When your soul was trapped inside King Inma's body, it was partially assimilated with his power while I was channeling it back. You're lucky, Kaito said, clapping Minato's shoulder. That level of power would obliterate most souls. Ah, yes, how fortunate I didn't disperse into nothingness. Minato replied with a strained smile. Ha ha ha. My bad. Kaido laughed, slapping Minato's shoulder again. But look on the bright side. Inma's power is inherently soul-based. Develop this strength properly. Then you'll help me test it. In a flash, Minato's purple right hand shot out, fingers spread toward Kaido's face. You didn't dodge? To his surprise, his grip connected. With a slight squeeze, Kaido's face shattered. Ah, I used a paper clone to test your new ability. Kaido's true form emerged from a golden ripple on the ground, watching as the torn paper scattered in the wind. Seems the faint spiritual light stored in the clone was completely nullified by your power. Kaido. Turning, Kaito saw Minato excitedly raising his purple hand. How about calling this move the Annihilating Evil Dispelling Hand? Chapter 294, Minato proudly announced the name he had come up with, then looked at Kaito with expectant eyes. Faced with Minato's praise me expression, Kaito subtly averted his gaze and said, as long as you're happy. He really didn't want to comment on Minato's naming sense. Don't you think my technique name is amazing? Minato, not getting the reaction he wanted, couldn't help but press further, a hint of disappointment in his voice. Should I be honest? Kaito had no intention of arguing about this. He was disgusted. Praise him against my conscience? After a brief internal struggle, Kaito gave up. Mostly because he, the soon-to-be great Onmyoji, Kaito Uchiha, felt he shouldn't have to endure such suffering. Let's move on. Kaito decisively changed the subject. Test whether your right hand can develop abilities beyond soul-based attacks. Alright, let's continue. A flash of so hard to find someone who understands me crossed Minato's face before he reluctantly pulled out a specially marked Flying Thunder God kunai and took a combat stance. Maybe my naming is just too avant-garde for him? Minato pondered as he prepared. After all, Kaito, as a non-myoji, is steeped in traditional culture. He probably doesn't get modern trends. TSK, for someone so young, that's no good. He needs to catch up with the times. As his friend, I'll change that, Kaito. Suddenly, inspiration struck. That's it. Here's what I'll do. A confident grin spread across Minato's face as he loudly declared, be careful now. I'm going to combine the Annihilating Evil Dispelling Hand of Inma with the Space-Time Gale Flash Combo Zero type apostrophe. How's that? Doubly cool, right? He looked at Kaito with renewed anticipation. Huh. Kaito felt like his brain had just short-circuited. So Annihilating Evil Dispelling Hand of Inma wasn't even his peak? Thank the gods Kushina exists to keep this man in check. I'm telling Kushina about his naming the second I get the chance. Until she forces him to change it, I am never fighting alongside him again. Kaito swore this silently to himself. Here I come. Minato raised his kunai, ready to strike. Whoosh. The sound of a teleportation jutsu interrupted him. Shiranui Genma appeared, cutting off Minato's momentum. Lord Minato, Lord Kaito. Genma addressed them. Urgent news. The fourth Raikage has called for a 5-Kage summit in the Land of Iron. 5-Kage summit? Minato pocketed his kunai. Seems the Raikage is the first to lose patience. Yes. Lady Tsunade requests your presence at the Hokage building for an emergency Jonin meeting. Genma said respectfully. Understood. Minato turned to Kaido. Kaido immediately waved him off. Go ahead. Just get out of here before your naming sense infects me further. After watching Minato and Genma leave, Kaido contacted his blood puppet. Master. How's the collection of the remaining white Zetsu? The leftovers are just low intelligence mass-produced units. I've already subdued them as per your instructions. Good work. Has Nagato been informed about the 5-Kage summit? Yes. Conveniently, Nagato needs a stage like this to promote his peace ideology. Oh? Does anyone else know about his plan to revive Kaguya? Not even Conan. I suspect he intends to use the original final weapon plan to draw the world's attention before casting Infinite Tsukuyomi to resurrect Kaguya. Understood. Play along for now. Yes. Cutting the connection, Kaido wandered aimlessly. His paper clones could handle the research back at Mount Hama. He only needed to receive updates at night. The moon expedition plan could start anytime. Kaido glanced at the sky. Though the moon wasn't visible in daylight, the sheer hassle of getting there sapped his motivation. Gyur can't fly that high. I'll need to recruit other yokai for transport. The screech of hawks echoed over Hidden Leaf Village as ninja from across the village converged on the Hokage building. Hokage building, meeting room. Tsunade sat silently at the head of the table. Jiraiya, seated to her left, spoke first. Tsunade, let me accompany you to the summit. No. She shot him a glance. With Naruto as the last remaining Jinchuriki not captured by Akatsuki, Hidden Leaf Village needs you here for defense. Then who'll be your guards? Jiraiya scanned the room. Kakashi Hatake and Hyuga Takuma. Tsunade looked at the two she'd named. The Raikage's missive states each Kage may bring 2 escorts. You two will attend with me. Yes, Hokage-sama. Kakashi and Takuma stood and acknowledged. Hokage-sama. Kakashi added. Would it be prudent to have an ambush squad shadow us covertly? Many voiced agreement. Clearly, Tsunade's ceiling during Akatsuki's attack had left them uneasy. Unnecessary. She shut it down firmly. The village's safety takes priority. The summit will draw Akatsuki's eyes, and they may seize the chance to strike Hidden Leaf Village again. At least take Minato. Jiraiya insisted, worry lacing his tone. I can hold the fort here, and he can return instantly if needed. Minato, seated across from Jiraiya, nodded in support. Tsunade shook her head again. Minato's priority is guarding Naruto. As the village with the last Jinchuriki, we're already a target. The fourth Hokage's presence would only draw more attention. As protests rose, Tsunade slammed a fist on the table. Enough. As Hokage, I swear I won't falter again. The room fell silent. She proceeded to delegate village affairs with finality, then dismissed the meeting. Most ninja lingered afterward, swarming Kakashi and Takuma. Kakashi, Takuma, protect the Hokage at all costs. Her safety rests with you two. Stay vigilant. Kakashi responded solemnly. We'll defend Lady Hokage with our lives. Takuma activated his Byakugan. I'll eliminate any threat before it reaches her. Only after endless well-wishing did the room finally clear. Outside, Takuma turned to Kakashi. Free to train? Kakashi eyed the serious Hyuga. Build synergy. Good idea. Without another word, the two headed for the nearest training ground. Chapter 295, Hidden Rain Village, the village hidden in rain. Towering iron gray spires rose like a dense metallic forest, shrouded in the cold, watery veil of perpetual rain. Inside an empty hall, a massive iron chandelier hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting warm light on the walls and illuminating a relief sculpture depicting God and angel with a golden glow. The heavy doors slowly creaked open as the remaining members of the Akatsuki, cloaked in their signature black robes with red clouds, filed in one by one. Never thought Akatsuki would be reduced to just this handful. Kisame remarked casually, his shark-like grin stretching wide. And Zetsu's missing today. Did he get taken out too? Deidara, as arrogant as ever, laughed. Probably. At the end of the day, those who got wiped out were just too weak, yeah. Sasori, his youthful doll-like form now replaced by his true body, stared at Deidara with lifeless eyes. You've got surprisingly good luck, Deidara. I always assumed you'd be the first to die. Still refusing to acknowledge my strength, huh, Sasori no Dan? Yeah. Deidara tilted his chin up, feigning magnanimity, before raising his palm. Where mouth unfurled its tongue? My art and I will outlast all of you. Try not to croak before me, yeah. Hey hey hey. A raspy chuckle echoed through the hall. Obi. no longer masking his voice. Spoke. Zetsu's gone. Probably got himself killed. Oh? So you're finally dropping the act, Dobi? Yeah? Deidara sneered. Then this. Sasori's gaze sharpened on the now serious Tobi. Is your real self? All in due time. Tobi tilted his head up toward the enormous clock hanging on the wall. The long pendulum swung, and the mechanical gears groaned as a dull, melodic ding-dong reverberated through the hall. A flurry of white paper swirled as Conan descended from above, her pristine wings spread wide. Hovering midair, she called out, Nagato. The others followed her gaze to the clock face, where an unfamiliar man stood, looking down at them. A pleasure. He spread his arms and floated down with deliberate calm. I am Nagato. Leader of the Akatsuki. The hell? Deidara squinted at Nagato's unmistakable Rinnegan. Where's Pain, yeah? Conan landed behind Nagato. Pain was a puppet Nagato controlled with the Rinnegan. From today onward, he will no longer hide in the shadows. Makes sense. Not like just anyone can wield those eyes, yeah. Deidara nodded. Tobi. Nagato's gaze shifted. Explain Zetsu's absence. No idea. Tobi shrugged. Nagato didn't press further. His eyes swept over the group. The 5 Kage summit approaches. It's time for Akatsuki to step into the light. And what's the plan, boss? Kisame's grin widened. We will make the world know pain. Nagato declared, arms outstretched. And usher in an era of peace. We didn't nab the Ninetales, but we've got enough chakra to substitute, yeah. Deidara's voice crackled with excitement. So we're invading the 5 great villages? I will announce at the summit that the shinobi world now belongs to us. Nagato said coldly. The villages will resist. We need only wait for them here. You're saying we take on all the villages at once? Deidara thrust both palms forward, tongues lolling from their mouths. Perfect? My art deserves the grandest stage, yeah. Prepare for total war. Nagato levitated again. This world will change for us. With that, he ascended back to the clock face and vanished into a dark, gear-filled passageway. All of you. Stand by in Hidden Rain Village until further orders. Conan's voice lingered as her body dissolved into a storm of paper, scattering into the heights before disappearing. Guess I'll head out too. Kisame smirked at the remaining trio and strode through the doors. Hey. Later. A vortex spiraled open in Dobi's Lonai, swallowing his body whole. TCH. Deidara spun on his heel. Let's go, Sasori. Gotta cook up some new masterpieces for the big show, yeah. I need materials. Sasori muttered. Lost too many puppets in Hidden Leaf Village. Ha. Including your prized 3rd Kazekage, yeah. Shut it. Top of the tower, a dim chamber. Nagato sat alone before a chessboard. Nagato. Space twisted, and Tobi materialized. Tobi. Nagato placed a piece on the board. About Zetsu. You know something. Hey. Tobi chuckled low, then reached up and removed his mask. I sealed him away. Nagato turned, his lips curling into a stiff smile. How rare. You're being honest with me, Obito. Because you're not the clueless Nagato from before. Tobi. Now revealed as Obito. Sat opposite him and moved a piece. You've figured it out, haven't you? The truth of the infinite Tsukami. So you're here to propose an alliance? Nagato frowned at the board. Obito toyed with a chess piece, his gaze piercing. I'll work with anyone who fulfills my goal. Black Zetsu was Madara's will. Pushing me to reclaim the Rinnegan and revive him. But you're a better partner. Why assume I'd agree? Nagato countered. The infinite Tsukami contradicts my original vision. Click. Obito set his piece down. You'll accept. He smirked. Your Wrath of God plan only delays war until your death. The Tsukami is the only way to realize the peace Yahiko dreamed of. Do not speak his name. Nagato's voice turned glacial. I'll consider it. Good enough. Obito stood, his body distorting into the vortex again. I'll await your answer. Once Obito vanished, Nagato lifted another piece. It seems he doesn't know the Tsukami's true purpose. Or Zetsu's. Don't you agree, Sofran? Yes. A pale figure emerged from the floor. Sofran, his Rinnegan identical to Nagato's. Obito and Madara were both deceived, Lord Nagato. Pity. Nagato placed the final piece. Chapter 296, After leaving Nagato's room. Obi did not depart from Hidden Rain Village. Instead, he reappeared in a dark, damp alley and pushed open a rusted iron door. The creaking of the door was accompanied by the dull jingle of a bell. Inside the dimly lit bar, only Kisame sat alone at the counter. Former Mizukage-sama. No, Madara-sama, you've arrived. Kisame turned and raised his glass. HN. Obi walked over and sat at the counter, pouring himself a drink. He clinked his glass with Kisame's, then lifted his mask slightly to reveal his mouth and down the alcohol in one go. Rare to see you drinking. Obi set his glass down and glanced at Kisame, who continued drinking without pause. There haven't been any missions lately, so indulging a little isn't bad. Kisame grinned, shaking an empty bottle before getting up and retrieving a few more from the shelves behind the counter. Besides, the war that will decide the future is coming soon. Who knows? I might just die in it. Where's the bartender? Seeing Kisame haphazardly mixing different drinks, Obi couldn't help but ask. Those cowards were ruining my mood, so I sent them away. Kisame took a swig directly from the bottle, baring his sharp teeth in a fierce grin. Madara-sama. He leaned on the counter, staring straight into Obi's eyes. You seem to have changed the original plan. Originally, I did intend to reclaim the Rinnegan and take Nagato's place once he gathered all the tailed beasts. Obi adjusted his mask. But I have indeed reconsidered. Is that so? Kisame set the bottle down and leaned closer. The process doesn't matter. As long as you can guarantee the final outcome is what I desire, that's enough. Ah, I promised you, Kisame. Obi stood up, his crimson eyes glowing ominously beneath the mask. We will both escape this false world as we wish. Then there's no problem. Kisame tossed aside the empty bottle and cracked open another. I've always looked forward to entering a new world. Yeah. The space around Obi twisted, his figure rapidly shrinking into a swirling vortex. Keep your expectations high. It won't be long now. Well then, I won't disturb your relaxation any further. Hey, see you later, Madara-sama. Kisame chuckled at the now empty space. News of the upcoming 5 Kage Summit in the Land of Iron quickly spread throughout the shinobi world. For a time, many within the shinobi world began stirring with ambition. Especially bounty hunters who relied on the underground black market for their livelihood. Their activities reached unprecedented levels. The fact that the Kage of the 5 great nations would be leaving their villages with only 2 bodyguards each was deliberately leaked among bounty hunter circles. Many, unable to resist the lure of greed, began plotting to pull off the ultimate heist. Though everyone knew that shinobi bearing the title of Kage stood at the pinnacle of power, the astronomical bounties listed for them in the black market were simply too tempting. Even if split among many, the rewards would be more than enough to live lavishly for a lifetime. Soon, bounty hunter groups, both large and small, as well as lone wolves, began secretly collaborating, hoping to overwhelm their targets with sheer numbers and accomplish what was considered the most impossible mission in the black market. After analysis, most agreed that among the 5 Kage, the 5th Hokage, Tsunade, renowned as the legendary sucker, would be the easiest target. After all, it was common knowledge that medical ninja were relatively weaker in combat. Additionally, the 3rd Sushi Kage Anoki was advanced in age, the 5th Mizukage Maitrumami was a woman with little fame, and the 5th Kazi Kage Gara was young and inexperienced. All relatively favorable targets. Only the 4th Raikage, in his prime and with a fearsome reputation, was deemed the most difficult to take down. Furthermore, the tale of the 3rd Raikage holding off 10,000 Hidden Stones village ninja alone for 3 days before finally falling served as a stark reminder. The Raikage was not an enemy that could be defeated through numbers alone. The movements of these bounty hunters did not escape the intelligence networks of the 5 great nations. Each village's spies quickly detected their activities and promptly relayed the information back to their respective leaders. In Hidden Clouds Village, hidden among the clouds atop towering mountains, the Raikage's office echoed with booming laughter. Ha 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 ha. The 4th Raikage, clutched a piece of paper in his massive hand, laughing heartily. Raikage-sama. His secretary Mobui remarked with a faint smile. You haven't laughed like this in a long time. Not since what happened to Killer B-sama. Of course. Darue lazily leaned against the wall. After all, Killer B-sama was like a brother to the Raikage. Back then, we were so close to saving him, but in the end, Raikage-sama was filled with regret. Beside him, the blonde-haired Shia lowered his head and muttered. It's all because we, his subordinates, were useless. Even after tracking them for so long, we still couldn't find where those Akatsuki bastards were hiding. What are you talking about? I stopped laughing, glaring at the 3. We were just discussing the upcoming escort mission, Raikage-sama. Darue quickly deflected, knowing better than to mention the in front of A. Is that so? I had, of course, overheard part of their conversation. Yes, Raikage-sama. The 3 immediately bowed in acknowledgement. A didn't press the issue. He couldn't blame his subordinates for B's death. Instead, he tossed the intelligence report onto the table. Take a look at this. Yes. Darue picked it up first, and the three scanned its contents. Instantly, they understood why their leader had laughed so heartily. It seems even Rogue Ninja know that among the 5 Kage, none surpass the Raikage in strength. She remarked. From what I know. Mabui added calmly. Among the current Kage of the 5 great nations, Lorda is indeed the strongest. Darui set the paper down, his usual lazy gaze sharpening. Those greedy bounty hunters wouldn't dare target the Raikage. But even if they do, she and I won't let any trash disturb him. Among the other Kage, only the 3rd Sushi Kage Onoki poses any real challenge to me. But that old man is practically on his deathbed already. I stood and walked to the window, gazing down at the village beneath the clouds. At this 5 Kage summit, I intend to demand answers from the others. They will give me an explanation for Akatsuki's actions. What happened to be will not be forgiven so easily. Chapter 297, around the same time, the other 4 Kage, aside from the Raikage, also received intelligence reports with nearly identical content. The land of Earth. Beneath towering mountains, surrounded by sheer cliffs, lay the hidden stone village. Damn it. Do they really think I'm easier to handle than that brute, the Raikage? The 3rd Sushi Kage, Onoki, slammed his fist on the table and roared in anger after reading the report. You could say this intelligence is the general consensus of the shinobi world's ranking of the 5 Kage's strength. Kurotsuchi, standing beside him, couldn't help but chuckle. Grandpa, the number of bounty hunters targeting you is the lowest. Though you can't compare to the Raikage, who no one dares to provoke, the fact that you, at your age, rank 2nd in the 5 Kage's strength hierarchy is pretty impressive in my eyes. What did you say, you ungrateful brat? Onoki leaped onto his chair, eyes bulging as he pointed furiously at Kurotsuchi. I am the strongest of the 5 Kage. How can those greenhorns and little girls compare to me? Kurotsuchi swiftly dodged the flecks of spit flying from Onoki's mouth and reluctantly placated him. Grandpa. Of course, I know you're the strongest Kage. She shook the paper in her hand. This is just the baseless perception of those ignorant rogue ninja. At your age, why bother with such meaningless reputation? Brat. Stop reminding me that I'm old. Onoki's bellow grew even louder. Crack. Suddenly, his movements froze. My back. You stubborn old man, isn't it about time you accept your age? Kurotsuchi quickly steadied him. Getting this worked up isn't good for your health. It's all because you youngsters in the village are so useless. Onoki grumbled, clutching his aching back. At my age, I shouldn't still be laboring so hard for the village. Yeah. Kurotsuchi cut him off impatiently. Here comes the lecture again. I've memorized every word by now. Humphrey. Such an inconsiderate brat. The land of wind. Deep within the desert, shrouded in swirling sands, lay the hidden sand village. Gar silently handed the intelligence report to Kankuro and Temari. Who would have thought that in their eyes, Gar ranks 3rd among the 5 Kage? Kankuro laughed. And he's the youngest Kage, too. However, Temari didn't share his amusement. She slammed the report onto the table, furious. Putting the female Mizukage and Hokage at the bottom. Damn it. Do those bastards look down on Kunoichi? And not necessarily. Kankuro shrank back, not daring to provoke his sister, and awkwardly explained. It's just. The hidden mist has always been shrouded in secrecy. No one really knows much about the 5th Mizukage. And the 5th Hokage is widely known as a medical ninja. Gaara, at least, has some reputation. What the hell are you saying, you idiot? Temari's fist collided with Kankuro's face. Gaara is ranked 3rd because he's genuinely strong. Kankuro's body flew backward, crashing into the wall before sliding down limply. Sister. Gaara watched Temari, a bead of sweat rolling down his forehead. Gaara. Temari turned, planting her hands on the table and locking eyes with him. Listen to me. At this 5 Kage summit, you must not let the Hidden Sands reputation suffer in front of the other Kage. As for those opportunistic rats lurking along the way, leave them to me and Kankuro. She then turned her murderous glare toward Kankuro, who had finally managed to stand up. Right, Kankuro? Why yes, understood, sister. Kankuro immediately straightened up and answered loudly. Gaara? Temari's gaze shifted back. I understand. Gaara nodded obediently. Humphrey. Temari finally seemed satisfied. No one will underestimate the hidden sand. The land of water. Amidst towering peaks and thick mist, the hidden mist village lay concealed. Ranked 4th? The 5th Mizukage, Maitru Mummy, smirked, twirling a lock of her lush hair. Is it because I'm not famous enough? What do you think? She tossed the report aside. Ow! Mizukage-sama. Ow caught the paper and bowed respectfully. Given the hidden mist's traditional emphasis on secrecy, We need not concern ourselves with the ignorant opinions of outsiders regarding your strength. Mai tapped her lips thoughtfully, her tone casual. Oh? But didn't I implement policies to open up the hidden mist? Well. That's because you haven't been in office long enough for your reputation to spread across the shinobi world. I stammered nervously. Every ninja in the hidden mist knows that possessing 2kk Genkai makes you an undisputed powerhouse. TCH, whatever. Mai snatched the paper back and skimmed it again, muttering to herself. The top 3 are all men. I wonder if any of them are good catches? Mizukage-sama. The Sushi Kage is an old man, and the Kaze Kage is just a child. I hastily interjected. Ow! My smile turned dangerous. I believe the Raikage isn't exactly young either. That's correct. Ao felt a chill run down his spine. Still smiling, Mai suddenly backhanded him across the face. Are you implying the only man I'm suited for is the Tofish Raikage? The land of fire. Nestled within verdant forests at the foot of Rocky Mountains, the Hidden Leaf Village stood proudly. A loud crash echoed from the Hokage's office at the center of the village. Damn those scum. Tsunada's fist reduced her desk to splinters. How dare they look down on me? Tsunada-sama. Shizu immediately knelt to gather the scattered documents. Jiraiya, tell me. Tsunada stomped over to Jiraiya and shoved the report against his chest. Those bastards ranked me as the weakest of the 5 Kage. Am I really that pathetic? Gah. Jiraiya winced, rubbing his chest as he took the report. After a single glance, he shook his head. Those rogue ninja know nothing. Why care about their opinions? He looked up at her. Anyone who truly knows you would never call you weak. Humphrey. Tsunada clenched her fists, pacing the room like a caged beast. By the way. Jiraiya flicked the paper. Should we assign Anbu to clear out the bounty hunters along the way? Tsunada whirled around, her glare sharp as a blade. I mean. Jiraiya quickly backtracked. As Hokage, you shouldn't waste time dealing with those nuisances. And you can't afford delays on your way to the 5 Kage summit. No Anbu. And no delays. Tsunada declared firmly. She seized Jiraiya's collar, snarling. Enough nonsense. Those trash think medical ninja are weak? The number of fools lying in wait to claim my bounty is the highest. Well, I'll make sure they learn with their own bodies. Tsunada, the Hokage and one of the legendary Sannin, is far more than just a medic. Chapter 298, Southern Land of Rivers. Has the shinobi world suddenly gotten way too lively lately? Sasuke and Neji walked side by side along a narrow country path. Probably because the 5 Kage summit is about to begin. Neji replied, wiping blood from his fingers with a handkerchief. TCH. We ran into 3 separate bounty hunter groups on this mission alone. Sasuke muttered irritably. Can't be helped. Both the Sharingan and the Byakugan are listed on the underground black market's bounty board. Neji said, unfazed. Besides, I've told you before. Places like the black market can never be fully eradicated. Sasuke shot Neji a glance before looking up at the sky. Hurry up. We should try to reach the southern outpost before dark. The person Orochimaru wants us to meet this time is named Karen, right? Neji asked. Are you planning to recruit her into our team? Sasuke thought for a moment. According to Orochimaru, this Karen specializes in chakra-sensory abilities. Which overlaps with your role in the squad. Humphrey. No sensory technique can compare to the Byakugan. Neji declared with pride. But Karen also has healing abilities. We could use a medical ninja. Sasuke added. If her medical ninjutsu is advanced enough, she might fill a gap in our team. Neji nodded. In that case, we'll decide after meeting her. As they spoke, the two simultaneously quickened their pace, swiftly crossing the inhabited fields and disappearing into the mountains. After traversing several ridges, Sasuke and Neji arrived at the sea. They walked across the water's surface as if it were solid ground, soon spotting a desolate island ahead. Speeding up once more, they landed on the island. This is the place, right? Sasuke glanced at Neji. Neji instantly activated his Byakugan. This way. He leapt into the air, clearing several massive boulders before leading Sasuke to the entrance of a hidden cave. It's here. There are quite a few people imprisoned inside. Then let's go in. Sasuke gripped the hilt of the sword at his waist and stepped into the cave. The two first passed through a stretch of natural cavern before entering an artificially carved tunnel. The pitch-black environment posed no issue for the Sharingan and Byakugan users. Tap. 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 Their footsteps echoed faintly in the empty, silent passageway. After several turns, light finally appeared ahead. At the same time, another set of footsteps. Not theirs. Approached from the opposite end of the tunnel. Sasuke and Neji stopped simultaneously. Sasuke and Neji, I presume? A woman's voice rang out as a figure emerged from the darkness into the dim glow of a wall-mounted oil lamp. A girl with wild, fiery red hair, dressed in a crop top and shorts, adjusted her glasses and stared unerringly at the two in the dark. Come out. Orochimaru-sama informed me of your arrival. You're Karen? Sasuke stepped forward into the light. First time meeting. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. Your sensory skills are impressive. Neji followed. Neji Hyuga. Nice to meet you. Follow me. The red-haired girl's expression remained indifferent as she turned and led them deeper into the base. Passing several prison cells, each holding groups of people, they entered a relatively well-lit stone chamber and sat on a couch. Ahem. Karen adjusted her glasses again, her gaze fixed intently on Sasuke. Orochimaru-sama already told me your objective. But I don't have any reason obligating me to join your team. Is that so? Sasuke leaned back casually on the couch, glancing at her. Well, we don't have any reason forcing you to join either. What? Karen's voice rose involuntarily. Then why are you even here? Simple. To relay Orochimaru's orders. This outpost is to be abandoned effective immediately. Sasuke's gaze drifted away dismissively. And to casually evaluate whether you're qualified to join our squad. Why you? Looking down on me? Karen gritted her teeth, visibly angered. Also, if we're abandoning this place, what happens to me and the prisoners here? Sasuke looked at Neji. Per Orochimaru's orders, the prisoners are to be released. Neji took over. As for you, you either join our team or report to Orochimaru's current base. I wasn't asking you. Karen shot Neji a glare before pulling a set of keys from her pocket and tossing them at him. If that's the case, you handle releasing them. Neji reflexively caught the keys and looked at Sasuke for confirmation. Sasuke gave a slight nod. Fine. Neji turned and left the chamber. Humphrey. Karen pretended nonchalance, pacing the room before stopping near the door. Her hand hovering as if to lock it. Pointless. Sasuke's voice cut in. Neji's from the Hyuga clan. A mere door won't block the Byakugan. Karen yanked her hand back, stammering. I was just adjusting it. Whatever. Sasuke's attention shifted away again. So? What's your decision? I suppose I could reluctantly join your team. Her voice trailed off as she slowly moved back to the couch. Removing her glasses subtly, she sat close to Sasuke, leaning in. So, Sasuke, you really want to test me, huh? Stay back. Sasuke pushed her away. Your sensory skills are decent, but they overlap with Neji's Byakugan. I'm more interested in evaluating your medical ninjutsu. What? Karen stubbornly latched onto his arm. Sasuke, have you completely forgotten about me? You even said it was our first meeting earlier. I don't remember you. Sasuke frowned, pulling his arm free. You saved me during the Chunin exams in Hidden Leaf Village. Karen lunged closer, her face flushing. Ever since then, I've TCH. Don't get near me. Sasuke swiftly shifted to the other end of the couch, studying her face as he searched his memories. There might have been something like that. After a pause, he added. I don't remember trivial things clearly. But your hair is distinctive, so I guess it rings a bell. Really? Karen's face turned crimson as she touched her hair. I'm so glad you remember. Click. The sound of the door unlocking made Karen instantly snap back to reality, hurriedly putting her glasses back on. Damn it, I got too excited and forgot to sense him. She scowled as Neji re-entered. Well, Sasuke? Neji ignored Karen. Does she pass? Before Sasuke could answer, Karen shot to her feet. Of course I pass. I'm not just any medical ninja. She whipped out a kunai and slashed it across her own palm, then bit her arm. Within moments, the wound on her hand closed up completely. She triumphantly raised her healed palm, glaring at them. Well? Alright. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, impressed. You're in. Neji nodded. No objections here. Then let's go. Sasuke stood and walked out without another word, Neji following. Humphrey. Karen adjusted her glasses again, shouting after them, Sasuke. Since you clearly need my help so badly, I'll gracefully accept. Sasuke didn't turn or respond, already rounding the corner out of sight. You. Karen stomped her foot furiously before rushing after them. Those two jerks hadn't even waited for her. Chapter 299, Time passed swiftly. As the date of the 5 Kage Summit drew near, the current leaders of the 5 great shinobi villages each departed from their homes, accompanied by their guards and farewells. On the same day, Kaido received a peculiar message. Near the northern border of the Land of Fire, close to the Land of Iron, one of his paper clones had inadvertently discovered an extraordinary limestone cave. Upon entering, the clone found a luminous pool deep within the cavern. At a glance, Kaito recognized the layers of cursed seals hidden beneath the water's surface. This was a concealed passage interwoven with Ganjutsu and space-time ninjutsu. Though the clone lacked the power to determine the exact destination of the passage, it concluded that the discovery was worth investigating and promptly relayed the information to the main body. Without informing anyone, Kaito left another paper clone in Hidden Leaf Village and had the clone stationed at the northern border summon him directly to the site. Is this the place? Kaito gazed at the faintly glowing pool beneath his feet and activated his Rumyaku communication mode. So that's it. He mused, stroking his chin. No wonder I've been subconsciously delaying my trip to the moon. My instincts as an Onmyoji were telling me there was still a chance for a turnaround. A passage to the moon? The paper clone chuckled. Seems it wasn't a coincidence that I stumbled upon this place on a whim. The main body and the clone exchanged knowing smiles. After a brief laugh, Kaito swiftly exited the communication mode and pulled out a messenger paper figure to contact Sasuke. Simultaneously, the paper clone left behind in Hidden Leaf Village discreetly made its way to the Hyuga clan compound. Now, we wait here. Kaito and his clone stared at each other in silence for a long moment before he suddenly reached out and dispelled the paper clone. Might as well summon Madara and Izuna first. Clapping his hands together, he called out, summoning jutsu, Gate of the King of Hell. An ethereal gate materialized before him, and 3 figures stepped through. The moment their feet fully crossed the threshold, their forms solidified into physical bodies. Senior Madara, Senior Izuna. As the gate dissipated into scattered points of light, Kaito greeted the two with a smile before turning to the third person. And this must be Senior Hikaku? The young man with a high ponytail grinned warmly. Indeed. It's been a long time, clan head. I didn't expect Senior Hikaku to come out as well. Kaito said cheerfully. Perfect. With 4 of us here, we can play cards. He promptly spread a blanket on the ground and produced a deck. Hey, kid. Izuna's irritated voice cut in. Where exactly are we? You didn't summon us just to play cards, did you? Didn't I mention it? Kaito pointed at the glowing pool nearby. This is a passage to the moon. What? The other 3 immediately rushed to the edge of the pool and crouched down to inspect it. This water. Hikaku stirred the glowing liquid with his hand. Lord Madara, Lord Izuna, there's something odd about it. Izuna dipped his fingers in as well. Seems it doesn't wet clothes. MN. Madara activated his Rinnegan to peer beneath the surface. The water is laced with intricate cursed seals designed to distort vision. Kid, let's head down and check it out. What are we waiting for? Izuna's tone was eager. For Sasuke and the Hyuga clansmen to arrive. Kaito explained. The moon was established by Hamura. Bringing along shinobi of his bloodline might prove useful. So, you summoned us just to keep you company playing cards, huh? Izuna plopped down onto the blanket and glared. Exactly. Kaito began shuffling the deck with flair. It'll take Sasuke at least 2 days to get here. Waiting alone would be too dull. You could have just left a paper clone here and had it summon the rest of us later. Izuna snatched the cards from Kaito's hands. Well, I also wanted to study the cursed seals here in detail. Kaito gave a sheepish smile before glancing back at the pool. Besides, it's lonely by myself. TCH. Then go study properly. Izuna kicked Kaito away and waved at Madara and Hikaku. Brother, Hikaku, ignore this brat. Let's play without him. Very well. Madara smiled and took a seat, while Hikaku amiably followed suit. I could always study after a round or 2. Kaito stubbornly rolled back over. This isn't like you, clan head. Hikaku eyed him curiously. Kaito slung an arm around Hikaku's shoulders and grinned. No need for formalities among comrades, Senior Hikaku. As Izuna dealt the cards, he shot Kaito a disdainful look. This brat alternates between pretentiousness and shamelessness. Suit yourself, Hikaku. Is that so? Hikaku laughed heartily. That's fine by me. It seems the clan head truly considers me a comrade. Of course. Senior Hikaku was Senior Madara's right-hand man in the past. Kaito patted his shoulder and settled into his spot. And I can be yours in the future, clan head. Hikaku quipped, though his eyes held sincerity. Meeting his gaze, Kaito smiled again. Naturally. I'd be honored. In the land of waves, Sasuke retrieved the executioner's blade from Zabuza's grave with his newly formed team. Sasuke. Where are we headed next? Karen clung to his side, pressing against him at every opportunity. Another new member of the team, a pale blue-haired boy with shark-like teeth, carried the massive sword on his back. He smirked at Karen's antics and taunted. Hey, Karen, you only joined this squad because you've got a crush on Sasuke, don't you? You bastard, Suigetsu. Karen spun around and punched his head into a splash of water before turning back, Her face flushed. I'm only here on Lord Orochimaru's orders to assist Sasuke. Ah. The boy, Hazuki Suigetsu, hailed from Hidden Mist Village's Hazuki clan. His body, capable of liquefying at will, made him impervious to physical attacks. As his head reformed from the water, he sneered. Anyone can see you're obsessed with him, you violent fangirl. What did you say? Karen's face burned crimson as she raised her fist again. Enough. Sasuke cut in. We're moving out immediately. Our destination is the northern border of the Land of Fire, near the Land of Iron. With that, he dashed ahead at full speed. Sasuke. Karen hurried after him. You still haven't told us what the mission is. Such a troublesome woman. Suigetsu clicked his tongue and glanced at the boy walking beside him. Hey, Hyuga. You don't get along with her either, right? Neji Hyuga. Neji coldly corrected him before speeding up without another word, leaving Suigetsu behind. Ugh. I swear, none of you are my type. Suigetsu groaned loudly before reluctantly giving chase. Chapter 300. It was winter, and heavy snow fell across the northern lands of the Fire Country. In the snow-covered forest, Tsunade, Kakashi, and Takuma dashed across the white expanse, their footsteps kicking up flurries of snowflakes. Hokage-sama. Takuma suddenly halted. Tsunade stopped and turned. Again? Yes. 36 enemies, 500 meters ahead. Takuma reported the ambush with precision. Well, guess it's my turn this time. Kakashi pushed up his forehead protector, revealing his left eye, and prepared to charge forward. Wait. Tsunade raised a hand to stop him. Hokage-sama? Kakashi looked at her helplessly. Humphrey. Tsunade clenched her fists, the knuckles cracking audibly, her face darkening with anger once more. Don't interfere this time either. I told you. I'm going to make those bastards understand the true weight of a Hokage. With that, she flashed forward. Boom. Soon, earth-shaking tremors erupted in the distance. Kakashi lowered his forehead protector again, his visible eye drooping in exasperation. Takuma, how many has Tsunade-sama taken out on this trip so far? Probably over 150. Takuma's lips twitched. Ever since those guys ranked her 5th on that list, the Hokage's been holding a grudge. So, including this batch, that makes around 180, huh? Kakashi muttered as he jogged forward at a leisurely pace. Takuma kept pace beside him, sighing. I just hope those idiots get the message soon and stop throwing their lives away like this. Who knows? As they crested a small hill, Kakashi's gaze fell upon the scene ahead, and he suddenly froze. Ah. Somehow, I get the feeling that from now on, the Hokage's reputation as the legendary medic might take a slightly different turn. Takuma swallowed hard. Very likely. Before them, the distant forest was a horrifying sight. Giant trees lay shattered, the thick blanket of snow completely obliterated, revealing a blackened earth split apart in jagged fissures. The enemy's corpses were strewn everywhere, blood splattered so violently that even the snow on the treetops had been dyed crimson. And in the center of it all, Tsunade stood tall, casually shaking out her still delicate-looking fist. What are you two standing around for? Let's go. She glanced back at them before striding forward, stepping over the corpses and leaving a trail of bloody footprints in the snow behind her. You go ahead and follow the Hokage, Kakashi said, snapping out of his daze and moving to the edge of the battlefield. I need to clean this up. Hurry up. Takuma passed him, chasing after Tsunade's retreating figure. Yeah, it'll be quick. Kakashi swiftly formed hand seals. Earth-style river. The ground churned, a surging river of mud swallowing all traces of the carnage and burying it deep beneath the earth. That should do it. Kakashi lowered his hands and dashed forward in an instant. A faint whistling sound reached his ears. Midair, Kakashi twisted his body with fluid grace, narrowly avoiding several shuriken that had been aimed at his back. He landed smoothly. Who's there? Even Takuma's detection missed you. Then, he quickly pieced it together. Ah, hiding deep underground, huh? He mused aloud. Takuma usually doesn't scan too far down to conserve chakra. Pushing up his forehead protector to reveal his Sharingan, Kakashi's expression turned serious. You're not on the same level as the previous bunch. There must be more ambushes ahead. Trying to split the three of us up? Silence. No response. TCH. Fine, I'll just leave then. Kakashi turned and sprinted in the direction Tsunade and Takuma had gone. After all, my job right now is to guard the Hokage. Fire style, great fireball. Wind style, great breakthrough. Flames roared, fanned by the wind, a blazing inferno swallowing Kakashi in an instant. Two hooded figures in long cloaks and animal masks materialized. I said. A hand burst from the ground, seizing one ninja's ankle. Your outfits and tactics are awfully familiar. Earth-style, headhunter jutsu. Just as the ninja was about to be dragged underground, the other reacted swiftly, drawing a kunai from his back and stabbing downward. TCH. Kakashi burst from the earth, dodging the blade. You're remnants of Root, aren't you? His gaze sharpened. Attacking the Hokage now. Are you betraying the village? The two former Root operatives remained silent, swiftly flanking Kakashi from both sides. Kakashi blocked their kunai and tanto with his own, still talking. Trying to avenge Denzo, that criminal? Shut up. One of them finally snapped. You and Tsunade are the real traitors to Hidden Leaf Village. And why's that? Kakashi kicked one away, then drove a fist into the other's chest. Don't think we don't know. You've already sold the village to Uchiha. Wind style, vacuum bullets. Fire style, rage of sages, flame of phoenixes. The two launched a perfectly synchronized combination attack. Razor-sharp wind bullets and searing fireballs raining down on Kakashi. Earth style, multiple earth style walls. Three-layered barriers of earth rose to block the assault. At the same time, a piercing crackle of electricity filled the air. A dazzling chain of lightning, wielded by two identical figures, sliced through the former Root members in an instant. Lightning style, lightning cutter. As the two collapsed, Kakashi's shadow clones dispersed. Stepping out from behind the earthen walls, he looked down at their bisected bodies. Whatever your reasons, attacking the Hokage is inexcusable. Without waiting for them to fully expire, Kakashi turned and dashed away. After crossing another stretch of snowy forest, the sounds of battle reached him once more. Takuma was locked in combat with two more Root survivors, evenly matched. Kakashi immediately slipped into stealth, silently closing in. The crackle of lightning returned as his right hand pierced through one enemy's chest. Already aware of Kakashi's approach thanks to his Byakugan, Takuma expertly kept the other occupied. Kakashi withdrew his bloodied hand as the corpse fell. Dismissing the lightning, he drew a kunai and blurred forward, overwhelming the remaining Root ninja. Let's finish this quick, Takuma said, the veins around his eyes bulging. The Hokage might need backup. Got it. Kakashi intensified his assault, forcing the enemy to falter. 8 trigrams, Mountain Crusher. Seizing the opening, Takuma slammed a palm into the ninja's chest. Blood sprayed from behind the mask as the man was sent flying, crashing through a tree. Go. Kakashi hurled his kunai, embedding it straight into the ninja's heart. Without a backward glance, he and Takuma raced toward Tsunade's location. Chapter 301, Takuma, how's the Hokage's situation? Kakashi increased his speed once again. The Hokage isn't in immediate danger, but she is trapped inside the 4 violet flames formation. Takuma replied, his Byakugan observing Tsunade's battle in the distance. What a pain. Those Root bastards. Kakashi muttered under his breath. The two of them soon arrived outside the barrier. Inside the formation, Tsunade was breathing slightly heavily as she stood off against a group of masked former Root shinobi. Out of respect for your origins as Hidden Leaf Village shinobi, I've already given you all a chance. She lifted her foot and lightly stomped the ground. Cracks immediately spread outward from where she stood. Next. Her sharp gaze bore into the enemies as she clenched her fist. If you still refuse to stand down, I'll personally eliminate every last one of you traitors. You're the real traitor of Hidden Leaf Village. One of the former Root members tore off his mask, his eyes burning with hatred as he glared at Tsunade. Lord Denzo did everything for the sake of Hidden Leaf Village. He was the true shinobi who walked in the shadows. And yet, 5th Hokage, not only have you failed to clear Lord Denzo's name, you've even tried to hand Hidden Leaf Village's power over to the cursed Uchiha. His emotions were clearly running high, his face twisting with fury as he hurled accusations at Tsunade. Tsunade listened expressionlessly, though the veins on her forehead bulged more and more. Are you done? She stared coldly at the young shinobi who had removed his mask. What a waste. A talented young Hidden Leaf Village Jonin, yet you've completely inherited Denzo's fanatical ideology. The young man only screamed louder. Lord Denzo was the one most worthy of being Hokage. You people, who've strayed from the essence of being shinobi, will only lead Hidden Leaf Village to ruin. Oh? Tsunade's voice was eerily calm now. Her eyes swept over the surrounding enemies. So this attack wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment act. You had inside information and a carefully laid-out plan. Then tell me. After assassinating the current Hokage, who exactly did you plan to put in my place? The former Root operatives remained silent. So there is someone. Tsunade nodded in understanding. In that case, why hasn't this person shown themselves? If they're so eager to replace me, why don't they have the courage to face me directly? A spineless coward like that has no right to call themselves Hokage. Her words rang out powerfully, But the forest remained deathly silent, save for the howling wind carrying snowflakes through the trees. Well, seems like the person backing you is nothing but a coward, Kakashi remarked lazily from outside the barrier. Launching an attack on the Hokage right before the 5 Kage summit? Not exactly a strategic masterstroke. Found them. Takuma narrowed his eyes slightly before suddenly pivoting and thrusting his palm toward a specific point in the forest. 8 trigrams vacuum palm. A thick cedar trunk exploded, and 3 shadowy figures leaped out from within. Hollowed out the tree and set up a chuck rock and ceiling barrier inside, huh? Takuma's Byakugan observed the fallen cedar. If I hadn't been vigilant, you might have actually slipped past me. TCH. As expected of the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. The 3 revealed figures stepped forward openly. So it's you. Kakashi turned to face them, his gaze calm as it settled on the leader. Shimura Kazutaru. As for the other 2. He glanced at the remaining men. Tomoyuki and Yasuke, if I recall correctly. Weren't you 2 part of the former advisor's direct forces? I see. Tsunada's voice carried over. So even Koharu and Hamura couldn't resist stirring up trouble? Lord Hokage. Tomoyuki spoke first. He was a middle-aged man with a somewhat simple and honest face, a former direct subordinate of advisor Unitane Koharu. Known for his diplomatic finesse, Tomoyuki had been a skilled negotiator and mediator, assisting Koharu in numerous diplomatic dealings between Hidden Leaf Village and other villages. Even now, despite openly opposing Tsunada, he still maintained a respectful tone. The 2 former advisors truly supported your leadership in the beginning, he said smoothly, his voice measured. Even as they lay bedridden, they continued to care for the village's development and have praised many of your decisions since you took office. So what changed? Tsunade crossed her arms, standing fearlessly in the center of the encirclement. Her eyes remained fixed on the 3 newcomers, ignoring the root operatives entirely. Humphrey. Yasuke snorted coldly. A direct subordinate of advisor Mitokado Hamura, Yasuke had previously assisted the elder in managing Hidden Leaf Village's economic affairs. He was known for his strict, no-nonsense attitude and blunt honesty. Now, his expression was as cold as ever. Lady Tsunada, after the 3rd sacrifice, it was the 2 advisors who endorsed you as Hokage to lead Hidden Leaf Village. Yet now, you've betrayed their trust. Spare me the noble rhetoric. Tsunada waved a hand dismissively before pointing straight at Shimura Kazutaru. If those 2 old fools seriously think they can prop up this worthless idiot as Hokage, their motives can't be pure either. Kazutaru immediately bristled. Why you? Shut up. You're nothing but a puppet in those old bastards' hands. Tsunade cut him off ruthlessly before turning back to Tomoyuki and Yasuke. Unlike this fool and these emotionless root shinobi, the 2 of you should know better. Even if I died here today, there's no way this Shimura clan reject could ever become Hokage with the forces you have. She narrowed her eyes. At first, I thought this was just Root acting out of vengeance for Denzo. But since you 2 are here, this isn't just some impulsive move. And this kind of reckless attack doesn't match those 2 old schemers' usual cautious nature. A mocking smile curled her lips. What, are they so close to death that they've decided to go out with a bang? What did you say? Kazutaru's eyes widened in shock. He glanced back uncertainly at the 2 men behind him, hesitation creeping into his stance. Hey! Look at him. Utterly pathetic. Tsunade clicked her tongue in disdain. As much as I hated Denzo, even I almost feel sorry for him now. Even the former root operatives inside the barrier seemed unsettled, their attention shifting toward Tomoyuki and Yasuke. Yet the 2 men remained unfazed. One still wearing a polite smile, the other as cold as ever. Please remain calm, Lord Kazutaru. Tomoyuki spoke soothingly. You know our plan is flawless. Oh, of course I know that. Kazutaru seemed to regain his composure, puffing out his chest before shooting a haughty look at Tsunada. Chapter 302, Can I ask something? Kakashi suddenly raised his hand. Since your plan is foolproof, that means you must have other allies, right? Indeed. Takuma replied, lifting his chin proudly. Otherwise, you people would never be able to defeat us. Or the Hokage. Not just that, but also those within Hidden Leaf Village. Kakashi pointed out. Tsunada also sneered. So, you actually have a way to deal with both me and Jiraiya at the same time? Kakashi added with a smile. And our teacher. If they intend to incite a rebellion in Hidden Leaf Village, Sensei would never stand by and do nothing. Not to mention all the other Hidden Leaf Village comrades who have always supported the Hokage. Which is why our actions are extremely suspicious. Tsunada narrowed her eyes, scrutinizing Tomoyuki and Yasuke. As expected of the Hokage and Kakashi. Tomoyuki said with a grin. It seems nothing escapes your notice. Hey! What about me? Takuma glared at him indignantly. Blame yourselves for sacrificing Hidden Leaf Village's interests by collaborating with Kaido Uchiha. Yasuke said coldly. They're here. Takuma suddenly shouted, looking up at the sky. Everyone followed his gaze. A familiar giant clay bird was flying toward them from the horizon. You. Tsunoda's expression completely transformed. A violent aura erupted from her body as she instantly smashed the ground with a single punch, sending the surrounding shinobi tumbling. You bastards actually thought to ally with the Akatsuki? They killed so many of our comrades not long ago. In a flash, Tsunoda lunged forward, both fists striking out. The bodies of two former root shinobi were sent flying, crashing into the barriers of the four violet flames formation in a spray of blood. This is no joke. Kakashi's eyes turned cold, lightning crackling in his hand. It seems there's no turning back today. His figure blurred with lightning as he closed the distance, his right hidden mist village piercing straight through Shimura Kazuteru's chest. Hey, Kakashi. Kazuteru grinned eerily. I'm the real shinobi here. With a poof, his body dissolved into smoke. A shadow clone? How cautious. Kakashi immediately turned and struck at Tomoyuki instead. At the same time, Takuma dashed toward Yasuke. Oh? Already fighting, huh? Deidara's voice rang out from above, but the battle below was too intense for anyone to respond. Deidara let out an annoyed tch. And started complaining. That damn leader said there wouldn't be any missions for a while, and now he sends the two of us to deal with this mess. So annoying. He glanced at Sasori. What do you think, Sasori? Sasori, however, was greedily observing Tsunoda, Kakashi, and Takuma in battle. For someone lacking high-quality materials, this is perfect? Ha. Deidara suddenly burst out laughing, pointing at Tsunoda. Hey, if I remember right, wasn't the legendary Tsunoda Heim sealed by you and that giant guy? Then I heard Kaido Uchiha rescued her. Maybe she's already his puppet now. You idiot. Sasori glared at him furiously. Are you implying that Kaido Uchiha's puppet techniques surpass mine? I never said that. Deidara grinned. But aren't onmyoji supposed to have shikigami? Kinda like puppets, right? Sasori grew even angrier. What do you mean kinda like? Keep insulting my art, and I'll turn you into a puppet. No way. A supreme artist like me would never become part of your mediocre craft. Deidara lifted his nose arrogantly. You little. A cold glint flashed in Sasori's eyes as he reached for a scroll. Gentlemen. Tomoyuki, barely holding his own against Kakashi, suddenly shouted. Please remember the purpose of this mission. Tch. Sasori glanced downward. Inside the four violet flames formation, Tsunoda had already defeated every shinobi except the four maintaining the barrier. Her face was dark as she stared at the violet flames. Meanwhile, Tomoyuki and Yasuke were clearly outmatched by Kakashi and Takuma. Especially Tomoyuki, who was on the verge of defeat. Sasori leaped down from the clay bird, spewing a volley of poisoned needles. However, he deliberately slowed their speed, allowing all four combatants to dodge and separate. Ha. Perfect timing. With Deidara's laughter, two lumps of white clay landed and transformed into snakes, coiling around Kakashi and Takuma. Gatsu. A flash of fire erupted as the clay snakes exploded, sending wooden debris flying. Tch. Deidara's clay bird descended. No matter. There's plenty of time left. You can slowly appreciate my art. Kakashi and Takuma, having substituted with logs, reappeared on the other side of the barrier, facing Sasori and Deidara through the violet flames. Tell me. Tsunoda's voice was deadly calm as she glared at Tomoyuki and Yasuke. What did those two old fools promise the Akatsuki? Tomoyuki and Yasuke, panting heavily, remained silent. Ha. Poor Tsunoda Heim, let me enlighten you. Deidara said cheerfully from the ground. Their bargaining chip with the leader was the Ninetales. Have you all lost your minds? Tsunoda's fists clenched, her eyes burning with fury. Even though our positions are complicated, I kinda agree with you. Deidara nodded sagely. Is it really so hard to understand? Sasori sneered. Ever since Kaido Uchiha openly appeared in Hidden Leaf Village, certain people have been sitting on pins and needles. Kakashi sighed. So they were scared of Kaido? From what I know of him, his revenge ended a long time ago. You don't understand the lust for power that drives those people. Sasori's weathered voice clashed with his youthful appearance. After reviewing the intel before this mission, it's clear that if things continued this way, the faction loyal to the elders would have been completely pushed out of power. I see. Even if the two former advisors did nothing, their followers, already branded as part of their faction, would never accept it. Kakashi's gaze turned complicated as he looked at Tomoyuki and Yasuke. Takuma exclaimed in shock. You. For something like this, you'd abandon a tailed beast? Just a temporary alliance. Wasn't the Five Kage Summit about to convene to deal with the Akatsuki? Sasori mocked mercilessly. First, use us to eliminate your enemies. Then, after inciting hatred by having the tailed beasts stolen, unite the villages to destroy the Akatsuki. That was the plan, right? How naive. Ahahaha. Deidara doubled over laughing. Gentlemen. Tomoyuki's usually amiable expression faltered. This might be a misunderstanding? Chapter 303, A Misunderstanding? Sasori turned his head to look at the two men, his face twisting into a stiff smile. There is no misunderstanding. Our two esteemed advisors came with genuine sincerity. Tomoyuki's expression had returned to normal, his tone dripping with earnestness. Hey! Sasori let out a derisive snort, utterly unimpressed. It seems even you, the so-called negotiation expert, have slipped up this time, Tomoyuki. Kakashi's voice cut in at just the right moment. Did it never occur to you? The reason you were once undefeated in negotiations wasn't just because of your own skills. There was another crucial factor. Tomoyuki looked up, stunned, his gaze fixed on Kakashi standing on the other side of the four violet flames formation. Back then, you had the entire Hidden Leaf village behind you. Kakashi's voice grew colder. But now, you can only speak for your own small faction. You. Tomoyuki opened his mouth but found himself at a loss for words. Tsunada's stern voice echoed in agreement. Kakashi is right. The moment you decided to betray the village's interests, Hidden Leaf Village ceased to be your shield. A pity you failed to consider the consequences of your betrayal. Kakashi sighed, then locked eyes with Sasori again. I'm guessing the Akatsuki never actually intended to make a deal with them, did you? Ha 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 ha. Deidara couldn't hold back another burst of laughter before clapping mockingly. Damn, you're sharp. Impressive, yeah. What? Tomoyuki and Yasuke's faces twisted in horror as they immediately tried to retreat. After all these years, I still encounter self-proclaimed geniuses like you. Sasori's voice was icy. In an instant, two puppets materialized behind Tomoyuki and Yasuke, their blades piercing straight through their hearts. Gh. The two men gasped, their bodies stiffening instantly from the potent venom. Blood gushed from their mouths as they collapsed. Cooperation? There was never such a thing. Sasori tilted his head slightly. We simply used you to sow chaos in Hidden Leaf Village and track down Lady Tsunada's whereabouts. Too bad Lady Hokage's journey was so eventful that her location was never really a secret. Leader's plan was redundant, yeah. Deidara shrugged. Not entirely. Sasori turned his gaze toward Tsunada, still trapped within the barrier. At the very least, by the time Hidden Leaf Village learns of their Hokage's death, they won't be able to send reinforcements in time. I see. Tsunada frowned at the lifeless bodies of Tomoyuki and Yasuke before shaking her head in resignation. So your true objective is? Her voice hardened as she stared at Sasori. To abduct Naruto in the chaos? Or sabotage the Five Kage Summit? Naruto. That's the name of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, isn't it? Sasori flexed his fingers, and the two puppets discarded the corpses before floating back to his side. The Nine-Tails isn't our mission. With his free hand, he unfurled a scroll he had been holding all along. After this summit, the final war between the five great nations and the Akatsuki will begin. Or so our leader originally planned. 8 more figures emerged from the scroll, lining up before him. With a flick of his wrists, each of his fingers connected to a puppet. But now that you've been rescued by Kaido Uchiha, it's unclear whether Hidden Leaf Village, still largely intact, will even join the war. So, Kakashi's eyes widened in realization. You're trying to assassinate the Hokage to ensure Hidden Leaf Village participates in your planned war? Takuma glared furiously. A mere rogue ninja organization, daring to challenge all 5 great nations at once? You're even more arrogant than I thought. Arrogant? Maybe. Deidara grinned wildly. With the chakra of all the tailed beasts, the Akatsuki will reshape the world's rules after this 4th Shinobi World War, yeah. What is the Akatsuki's true goal in collecting the tailed beasts? Tsunada demanded suddenly. To make the world know pain? Deidara mused, sounding unsure. Yeah? Idiot. Sasori's puppets levitated menacingly. Through devastating war and the power of the 9-tailed beasts, we will force the world into submission. And then create peace. So they really don't know anything. Having learned full truth from Kaido, Tsunada couldn't help but look at them with pity. What's with that look? Sasori's voice sharpened with anger as his fingers twitched again. 8 of the 10 puppets surged forward, bypassing the 4 violet flames formation and unleashing a barrage of weapons toward Kakashi and Takuma. At the same time, Deidara hurled a swarm of clay insects, though he shot Sasori a puzzled glance. Weird. For once, Sasori actually bothered explaining things before attacking. Yeah. Consider it a final mercy before they become my newest puppets. Sasori's fingers danced as he maneuvered the 8 puppets against Kakashi and Takuma, all while circling the barrier. His voice was cold. And you? Don't you dare blow up my future collection. Huh? Deidara, mid-hand seal, scowled. Why should my art take a backseat to your puppet show? Yeah? Don't test me, Deidara. Sasori's tone was dangerously calm. TCH. Deidara reluctantly lowered his hands. Fine. Only cause we've been partners this long. Yeah. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Takuma fought back-to-back against the relentless puppets. These ones aren't human puppets? Kakashi noted as his kick connected with solid wood instead of flesh. Lady Tsunade destroyed all of Sasori's human puppets in their last fight. Deidara chimed in, barely hiding his amusement. So now you two will be his replacements. Yeah. Deidara. Sasori growled. Kakashi suddenly exchanged a glance with Takuma. 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. Takuma spun rapidly, his defensive technique deflecting the puppet's assault. Seizing the opening, Kakashi sank into the ground. Oi, running away and leaving your comrade behind? Deidara taunted. Of course not. Kakashi reappeared directly in front of Sasori's real body, his Sharingan morphing into a new pattern. Kami. A spatial vortex materialized, its crushing force wrenching at Sasori's body. Crack. Sasori's form shattered into pieces. Only his right arm was caught in the vortex before it vanished. Clutching his bleeding left eye, Kakashi barely had time to react before. Click, click, click. I've been waiting for you to use that technique. Sasori's dismembered limbs flew back together, reassembling seamlessly. His remaining left hand extended, a pipe emerging from his palm as purple smoke billowed out. Kakashi Hatake. Today, you become part of my collection. Chapter 304, Ugh. Caught off guard, Kakashi inhaled a mouthful of poisonous smoke. He immediately held his breath, lowered the hand covering his left eye, and reactivated his Dujutsu. Kami. A spatial vortex spun rapidly. Sensing danger, Sasori swiftly dispersed his body into segments again. Kakashi hurriedly shifted his gaze, locking onto the core embedded in Sasori's chest. Crack. Under the distorting force of space, the left side of Sasori's chest began to fracture. Explosive clay puppet technique. Deidara's voice rang out just in time. An abstract clay doll rushed forward and knocked Sasori's body aside, sacrificing itself to be swallowed by Kakashi's Kami. By the time Sasori reassembled his body, Kakashi had already deactivated his Dujutsu. Staggering slightly, he retreated beyond the range of the poisonous smoke. He quickly pulled an antidote from his ninja pouch and injected it into himself, gasping heavily. It's not over yet. Deidara stretched out his arms, sending several more clay puppets charging toward Kakashi. At the same time, Takuma, who had rushed over due to the unmanned puppets on the other side, leaped into the air and struck at Deidara with a palm strike. 8 trigrams vacuum palm. TCH. Deidara dodged, disrupting his control over the clay puppets. Seizing the opportunity, Takuma swiftly grabbed Kakashi and retreated further, shielding him with his body. Meanwhile, Sasori had already reattached his right arm, and the chakra threads extending from his fingertips reconnected to all his puppets. Deidara, leave the rest to me. Sasori declared firmly. Your fighting style is too wasteful. You'll just blow them to pieces. Deidara withdrew his clay puppets, grumbling. Seriously, the puppets you're using now aren't even as good as my dolls, You almost died just now. Shut up. Sasori snapped impatiently. Whatever. Kakashi, how are you holding up? Tsunade, still trapped inside the barrier, sounded anxious. I'll manage. Kakashi replied, his condition seeming to stabilize slightly. Thanks to the antidote you prepared, Hokage-sama. No, a general-purpose antidote won't fully neutralize such a potent toxin. We need a specialized antidote. Tsunade clenched her fists. Kakashi-senpai? Takuma frowned in concern. Watch out. Kakashi barely managed to block an incoming puppet attack. Takuma immediately moved to protect him, engaging Sasori's puppets head-on. However, unlike when fighting human opponents, the Hyuga clan's Gentle Fist, which specialized in targeting internal organs and chakra pathways, was far less effective against puppets. The usual tactic for Hyuga ninja against puppeteers was to use the Byakugan and Gentle Fist to sever the chakra threads. But now, with Takuma forced to defend Kakashi in his weakened state, he had no choice but to clash directly with the puppets, quickly putting him at a disadvantage. 8 trigrams Mountain Crusher. Takuma unleashed one of his most effective techniques against the puppets, shattering one that was about to strike Kakashi. But in doing so, he failed to dodge a thin poison needle, which embedded itself in his arm. Takuma. Both Kakashi and Tsunade shouted in alarm as the needle pierced Takuma's flesh. Your name is Hyuga Takuma, right? All the puppets abruptly stopped moving as Sasori's voice, laced with delight, reached them. Then you'll join Kakashi as part of my collection. With his Byakugan, Takuma could clearly see the poison spreading through his arm. Gritting his teeth, he made a split-second decision. Grabbing a kunai and slashing at his own arm. I can't allow that. A puppet's arm suddenly elongated, precisely blocking Takuma's kunai. Since you're already a designated addition to my collection, even you don't have the right to damage yourself. Sasori's voice carried a hint of anger. Damn it. Takuma's vision darkened, his body swaying unsteadily. Takuma. Kakashi reached for another antidote, only for it to be shattered by a thrown projectile. You bastards. Tsunade, witnessing this, finally snapped. Dispel this barrier right now. The former root members maintaining the barrier exchanged glances but remained unmoved. Save your breath, Tsunade-sama. One of them spoke up. After Denzo-sama's death, we lost our purpose. Since our original goal is now unattainable, venting our anger for Denzo-sama seems like a fitting end. You worthless scum. Fury burned in Tsunade's eyes. But then, inspiration struck. She bit her right thumb and swiftly drew a bloody seal on her left palm. Summoning jutsu. A cloud of white smoke erupted as the massive form of Katsu materialized, instantly bursting through the confined space of the four violet flames formation. Tsunade vanished in the chaos. Boom. 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 4 rapid impacts resounded like drumbeats. When the smoke cleared, Tsunade stood protectively in front of Kakashi and Takuma. Katsu, heal Kakashi and Takuma. She flicked the blood from her fist and turned her glare towards Sasori and Deidara. Meanwhile, the dissipating smoke revealed Katsu's scorched body, its surface blackened by the violet flames. Beside her, the 4 former root members lay motionless, their chests caved in from Tsunade's devastating strikes. Understood, Tsunade-sama. Katsu shed the burned portions of her body, her form shrinking slightly as she regenerated seamlessly. 2 smaller slugs, each about half a meter long, split off and crawled onto Kakashi and Takuma. Throughout this, Sasori made no move to stop them. Well aware of Tsunade's combat prowess, he knew his current arsenal of standard puppets wouldn't last a single exchange against her. I forfeit. Sasori severed his chakra threads in frustration, letting all 10 puppets collapse to the ground. In a flash, he appeared on the back of Deidara's clay bird. My art has poor compatibility with the legendary Princess Tsunade. Sasori said, his tone disinterested. The rest is up to you, Deidara. Ha 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 ha. Deidara leaped onto the bird as well, laughing uproariously. To think even you would give up on a potential addition to your collection. The Slug Princess of Hidden Leaf Village truly lives up to her reputation. Tsunade ignored their taunts, her focus solely on her comrades. How are they, Katsu? Do not worry, Tsunade-sama. Katsu's soothing voice replied. I can stabilize them. Once the battle is over, you can develop the antidote in time. Good. Relieved, Tsunade turned her attention back to Deidara and Sasori. Now, it's my turn to perform, Deidara's claybird flapped its wings, ascending rapidly. I can't let him gain altitude. Tsunade's eyes sharpened as green markings spread across her face. In the next instant, she lunged at Deidara, her fist driving straight through his chest. This feeling. Realizing something was wrong, Tsunade tried to pull back. But the Deidara in front of her dissolved into white clay, rapidly expanding and ensnaring half her body. The real Deidara emerged from the clay bird's body, leaping down with Sasori. The clay clone on the bird's back continued swelling, completely encasing Tsunade. Hey, just like with Sasori no Dana. Who'd have thought the great Tsunade would fall for the same trick twice, Deidara formed a hand seal. Art is an explosion, Katsu. Chapter 305, Boom. With a deafening explosion, the clay clone enveloping Tsunade and the giant clay bird detonated simultaneously, painting the snowy field crimson with flames. Hokage-sama. Kakashi, who was receiving treatment from the small slug, immediately tried to stand up in panic. At that moment, the massive slug blocking their path suddenly split apart. A figure shot forward like lightning, reaching the laughing Deidara in an instant and driving a fist into his chest. The same trick won't work on me twice. Deidara's vision was filled with Tsunade's face, marked with green curse-like patterns. A violent shockwave erupted, sending Deidara flying backward at high speed. He crashed through several large trees before finally slamming into the snow. You're next. Tsunade retracted her fist and turned to face Sasori, who stood on the other side. Sasori stared at her impassively and asked. Hey, Deidara, are you finally dead? Cough. Cough. In the distance, Deidara weakly moved his limbs, struggling to pull his head out of the snow. Got careless. Cough. Not dead yet. Cough. But close. Yeah. He lay on his back, blood gushing from his mouth as he spoke. TCH. Sasori frowned. Annoying. If you dare attack me, be prepared to die. Tsunade clenched her fists and dashed toward Sasori. Flame emission. Sasori raised his hands, and scorching flames erupted from the pipes in his palms. Tsunade abruptly halted her charge and stomped the ground. The tremendous force caused the earth to upheave, blocking the flames for a brief moment. As the fire melted through the rock and soil, Tsunade swiftly retreated. At the same time, the slug, moving in perfect sync, opened its mouth. Tongue-tooth sticky acid. A tidal wave of corrosive acid spewed forth, covering the area where Sasori and Deidara stood. Sasori ceased his flames and leaped back, extending his right hand to manipulate Deidara's body with chakra strings, pulling him out of the acid's range. With that, the two sides were fully separated. PFFT. Deidara spat another mouthful of blood. Sasori. My organs. Probably got punctured by broken ribs. Yeah. After this, I'll turn you into a perfect piece of art, Deidara. Sasori replied calmly, retracting his chakra strings. Bastard. Deidara collapsed again. Before I die, I'll take all of you with me. Sasori ignored him, reaching behind his back to retrieve his fourth scroll while opening a compartment on the right side of his chest. I hadn't planned to use this here. He unfurled the scroll, and several figures swiftly emerged, positioning themselves in front of him. This is... Tsunade's eyes widened in shock at the sight of the 6 new human puppets. Though she didn't recognize all of them, some familiar faces instantly revealed their identities in life. My art knows no limits. Sasori's lips twisted into a grotesque smile. This is my latest and greatest masterpiece. Chakra strings extended from his chest, connecting to the 6 puppets. Secret technique, Jinchuriki formation. He gazed at the 7 figures before him and sighed regretfully. A shame I couldn't complete the set of 9 before unveiling them. So, these are the Jinchuriki who died after having their tailed beasts extracted. Tsunade muttered, bracing herself. Even Deidara was stunned. Lying in the snow, he turned his head to look at the puppets and spat bitterly. To think. The leader actually. To think the leader entrusted me with such high-quality materials? Sasori finished coolly. Don't act so surprised, Deidara. This is his recognition of my art. Humphrey. Deidara, despite his condition, sneered defiantly. You could never have collected all 9 anyway, Sasori. The 3 tails Jinchuriki died long ago. PFFT. You should stop talking, Deidara. Sasori's voice darkened as the 6 human puppets sprang into action. Killer Bee. Wrapped in dazzling lightning, extended blades from his body and spun forward in a whirlwind of attacks. At the same time, Han, clad in red armor, released steam from his body and charged with a mighty punch. TCH. Tsunade realized the dire situation but had no choice but to meet them head-on. Perfect? Sasori manipulated the puppets with fervor. A debut like this deserves an opponent of your caliber. Next. Rashi. Armored in lava style, joined the assault. Tsunade swung her fists, wreathed in green senjutsu chakra, but Sasori's puppets moved fluidly, taking turns to engage and retreat, refusing to clash directly. Not just these 3. The remaining puppets seized openings to attack from afar. Yujito spat searing fireballs. Utakata blew explosive bubbles, and Fu scattered poisonous scales. Even Tsunade, enhanced by senjutsu, was momentarily suppressed. Damn it. Enraged, Tsunade slammed her fist into the ground. The snowfield split apart violently, rocks and dirt flying in all directions. Sasori leaped back, maneuvering his puppets to evade. Seizing the brief respite, Tsunade shattered Rashi with a single punch. Ha! I knew you and I were incompatible. Sasori's eyes flickered with irritation as Yujito and Utakata abruptly turned, launching fireballs and bubbles toward Kakashi and Takuma in the distance. Katsu! Tsunade shouted, simultaneously striking at Han. Understood. The giant slug shielded Kakashi and Takuma with its body, enduring the flames and explosions. Meanwhile, Han's steam-powered fist collided violently with Tsunade's. Crack. Tsunade's advance was halted, and Han's arm shattered. Hey! Sasori suddenly smirked. Tsunade whirled around just in time to see Killer Bee. Crackling with lightning, dart past Katsu, twin blades raised to slash Kakashi and Takuma. Kakashi! Takuma! Tsunade lunged forward to intervene, but the one-armed Han blocked her path again, his remaining fist propelled by steam toward her face. Get out of my way. Tsunade charged recklessly, obliterating Han's other arm. But in that split second, Killer Bee's blades had already sliced through the small slug that leaped up to protect Kakashi and Takuma, now mere inches from their bodies. Kakashi struggled to activate his Dujutsu Kami. But the poison coursing through his veins disrupted his chakra flow. So this is how it ends. He watched the descending blade with resignation. Screech. The piercing cry of 1,000 birds erupted as a brilliant lightning spear shot from afar, severing Killer Bee's sword at the last possible moment. Chapter 306, Is that Sasuke? Kakashi turned his head toward the source of the lightning spear. I never expected to see you in such a sorry state, Kakashi. From a distance, Sasuke smirked, his right hand gripping the lightning spear twisting slightly as Chidori's sharp spear slashed horizontally, forcing Killer Bee back. The lightning spear in Sasuke's hand retracted, arcs of electricity crackling around him as he instantly appeared beside Kakashi. Well, thanks for the assist, Sasuke. Kakashi said with a wry smile. What brings you here? Just passing by. Sasuke replied nonchalantly before turning his gaze elsewhere. Are you all heading to the 5 Kage summit? That's right. Kakashi struggled to sit up. Need help? Sasuke glanced at Tsunade, who was surrounded by puppets, and asked casually. Sasuke, I need you to protect Kakashi and Takuma. Tsunade said sternly, nodding at Sasuke before glaring furiously at Sasori. Leave the fighting here to me. Understood. Sasuke had no objections. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasori's expression darkened. Meanwhile, Deidara, lying battered on the ground, had been caught in the aftershock of Tsunade's earlier earth-shattering punch and was now barely clinging to life. Looks like there's no chance left. Sasori. Let me. With trembling hands, he slowly pulled open the front of his robe, revealing the stitched-up incision over his heart. You idiot. Sasori extended chakra threads from his fingertips, latching onto Deidara's body to stop him. Don't try to stop me. Deidara coughed up another mouthful of blood, mustering all his remaining strength to resist Sasori's control. My final art. TCH. While maneuvering his puppets to fend off Tsunade's relentless assault, Sasori used his only free hand to unfurl another scroll. Boom. A cloud of white smoke erupted, scattering countless paper fragments. The fluttering sheets coalesced, revealing Conan's figure amidst the chaos. Sasori discarded the scroll and spoke bluntly. Mission failed. Get us out of here. Conan surveyed the battlefield with a frown before nodding. Trying to run? Tsunade roared in fury. Ignoring her injuries, she smashed through Fu and Uchiha with 2 consecutive punches, charging straight at Conan. Stay here and die together. I'm just a paper clone. Conan's body dissolved into countless sheets of paper. The remaining Killer Bee and Uchiha immediately moved to intercept Tsunade. Meanwhile, white paper swirled around the barely breathing Deidara, lifting him into the air. Conan, now only her upper half remaining, spread massive paper wings from her back. With one hand gripping Sasori's collar and the other guiding Deidara's floating body, she soared upward. Sasuke, arms crossed, watched them ascend and asked again. Want me to help stop them? Then I'm counting on you. Tsunade shattered Uchiha with another punch but found herself entangled by Killer Bee, whose body suddenly sprouted razor-sharp blades. You heard her? Sasuke smirked. Time to get serious. Ha 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 ha. An abrupt laugh echoed from above. Everyone looked up to see Suigetsu leaping down from the towering snow-capped fir trees, his executioner's blade slicing through the air toward Conan. TCH. Sasori, still dangling from Conan's grip, scowled. Tilting his head back, he unleashed a barrage of hidden weapons from his mouth. Just as Suigetsu seemed ready to recklessly tank the projectiles, Neji materialized in front of him. 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. A rapidly spinning sphere of chakra deflected both the incoming weapons and Suigetsu's descending blade. What the hell are you doing? Suigetsu bellowed in outrage. Neji ignored him. As the rotation ceased, he planted a foot on the flat of the executioner's blade, using the momentum to launch himself higher, chasing Conan's retreating form. You damn Byakugan bastard. Suigetsu, kicked backward by Neji's maneuver, cursed furiously. Idiot Suigetsu. Those projectiles are poisoned. Karen, who had leaped out from behind a lower tree branch, punched Suigetsu's foot upward. Go again. By now, Tsunade, having sacrificed her own well-being, finally destroyed Killer Bee. As she regenerated her injuries, she glanced upward. 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. Neji, now above Conan, activated his technique once more. The force of the rotation sent Conan and her 2 companions plummeting downward. Perfect? Water style, violent water wave. Below, Suigetsu's arms bulged monstrously as he swung the executioner's blade upward in a devastating arc. Conan flapped her wings to evade, while Sasori blasted flames from both hands. One aimed skyward, the other downward. Suigetsu's face paled. He hurled his blade to block momentarily while his hands flew through seals. Water style, water wall. Above, Neji had no choice but to use revolving heaven for the third time. Seizing the opportunity, Conan's wings beat frantically, accelerating past Neji and ascending into the sky. Karen, who had already secured a spot beside Sasuke, clicked her tongue in frustration. These two. Useless men. Bastards. Tsunoda chopped down a fir tree with a single strike, hefted the massive trunk, and hurled it at Conan. With a boom, Conan's paper clone disintegrated entirely. The papers enveloping Deidara scattered, sending both him and Sasori into free fall. Ha. Cough. Ha ha ha. Deidara, mustering the last of his strength, laughed weakly. He yanked open the stitches on his chest and shoved a lump of explosive clay into the mouth embedded there. Behold. My ultimate heart. Deidara, you fool. Sasori reached out to stop him again but hesitated. Forget it. He had no more cards to play. This was the end. What a shame. He couldn't help but feel bitter. Princess Tsunoda's abilities had proven far more troublesome than anticipated, completely countering his puppetry. His newest masterpiece had been destroyed before it could achieve its destined glory. How infuriating. The others, unsure of Deidara's intentions, watched warily as his chest mouth chewed the clay. No. He's going to self-destruct. Karen, hypersensitive to chakra fluctuations, screamed in panic. Sasuke. Stop him. No need. Sasuke remained unmoved. Neji, it's your turn. Got it. Neji, descending from above, had already analyzed the flow of chakra within Deidara's body. An explosive surge was spreading from his heart throughout his entire system. Gray markings spread across Neji's face as he formed sword hand seals, striking the air in rapid succession. Sage art, gentle fist. Remote point striking. Needle-thin chakra projectiles shot from his fingertips, piercing precise Denketsu points on Deidara's body and sealing his chakra pathways completely. Deidara convulsed, blood spraying from his mouth before he crashed lifelessly to the ground. This moron. Seeing Deidara's kamikaze attempt fail so spectacularly, Sasori swiftly changed tactics. A rope shot from his abdomen, latching onto a distant tree branch. With a sharp tug, he swung himself away. Die. Tsunoda's voice thundered as an enormous shadow loomed over Sasori. A massive tree trunk smashed down onto him with catastrophic force, crushing his body instantly. Sasori's form shattered beyond recognition. Chapter 307, Boom. Tsunoda twisted her waist and flung away the massive tree she had been holding, then strode step by step through the scattered remains of Sasori's body before crushing his regeneration core under her foot. He's not dead yet. Neji remarked, standing beside Deidara as he observed the internal condition of the latter's body with his Byakugan. Oh? Tsunoda turned and walked over, bending down to deliver a swift, decisive punch. Her fist collided with Deidara's chest, producing a dull thud. Deidara's body convulsed, his eyes widening as a fountain of blood gushed from his mouth. Tsunoda sidestepped the splattering blood and casually said to Neji. Now he's dead. Eek. Suigetsu, who had been standing beside Neji, was so startled by her brutal action that he ducked behind Neji for cover. Neji, faced with the Hokage, felt slightly awkward but still bowed politely. Lady Hokage. Tsunoda gave a slight nod before striding past the four members of Sasuke's team and approaching Kakashi and Takuma. Lady Hokage, please check on Takuma first. Kakashi said. His poisoning is much more severe than mine. Quiet, you. Tsunoda shoved the seated Kakashi onto his back. After examining both of them, she ordered bluntly. Someone get me some water. I'll do it. Sasuke pulled a basin from his ninja pouch, ignoring the odd looks from the others. Why does he have everything? And scooped up clean snow from the side. He then melted it into water using fire-natured chakra in his hand. Here. He carried the basin over and set it down beside Tsunoda. Thanks. Tsunoda dipped her hands into the water, drawing out two separate orbs of liquid, which she then placed on Kakashi's and Takuma's chests. As green chakra glowed, the water seeped into their bodies. Mystical palm jutsu, extraction. With a swift motion, Tsunoda pulled out the water orbs, now tainted with poison, and tossed them aside. She repeated the process several times. As the toxins were gradually purged, Kakashi and Takuma's complexions slowly returned to normal. Finally, Tsunoda used a basic medical ninjutsu to fully restore their bodies. Done. She stood up and faced Sasuke's group, finally finding the time to ask. Why are you all here? Just passing through. Sasuke had no intention of elaborating. Passing through? Tsunoda pressed. Are you also heading to the 5 Kage summit in the Land of Iron? Karen immediately stepped in front of Sasuke, glaring defiantly. Hey! Why should Sasuke tell you anything about our plans? Besides, we just saved your lives. TCH. Tsunade crossed her arms and chuckled, then studied Karen with sudden interest. Girl, what's your name? I'm Karen. What about it? Karen's bravado faltered as she couldn't help stealing envious glances at Tsunade's ample bust. Karen? Tsunade smirked playfully. You seem awfully protective of Sasuke. That's because Sasuke is our team leader. Karen stammered, her face turning red. I don't like him or anything. You like him? Tsunade's grin widened. I never said that. Why you? Though seething inside, Karen didn't dare retaliate against Tsunade. In the end, she could only adjust her glasses awkwardly. Amused, Tsunade turned and walked to a nearby tree, picking up her Hokage hat and placing it on her head. Anyway, thank you for your help this time. And thank you for saving my life, Sasuke. Kakashi said as he finally stood up. Sasuke gave him a cool glance. It was nothing. No need for thanks. By the way. He reached into his ninja pouch again and tossed a scroll to Kakashi. Kakashi caught it and frowned. What's this? We ran into someone who attacked us out of nowhere. This is his body. Sasuke turned away. He was a Hidden Leaf village ninja. Something like Shimura, I think. Shimura Kazutaru? Kakashi asked, surprised. Not sure? Sasuke didn't look back as he walked off. We're leaving now. Neji, Karen, Suigetsu. Sasuke. Wait for me. Karen hurried after him. Yeah. Suigetsu also dashed off in Sasuke's direction. Still as independent as ever, Sasuke. Kakashi sighed, watching his retreating figure. Neji. Takuma approached Neji as if wanting to say something, but in the end, he only silently patted his shoulder. Take care. Neji bowed once more before departing. That girl. Tsunade stared thoughtfully at Karen's retreating figure. You mean? Kakashi seemed to catch on. Yeah. Tsunade sounded uncertain. She might be a surviving descendant of the Uzumaki clan after the fall of Hidden Eddy village. Kakashi nodded. She does have the same red hair as Kushina-sensei. Alright. Tsunade shook off her thoughts. You two, clean up the battlefield. Take the bodies of those Akatsuki members and the Jinchuriki with us. Yes. Kakashi and Takuma immediately got to work. Lady Hokage. Kakashi suddenly called out to Tsunade, who was standing beneath a tree. Should we contact the village? TCH, might as well. Though those fools won't cause much trouble. Tsunade pondered briefly. Notify Jiraiya. Understood. Kakashi summoned his Ninken, Pak-kun, relayed the message, and then dismissed the summon. Once the battlefield was cleared, the three of them resumed their journey toward the Land of Iron. Takuma glanced at Tsunade's back and asked. Lady Hokage, is it really alright to leave Sasuke Uchiha and his team unchecked? It's fine. Tsunade didn't slow her pace. Kaito Uchiha sent me a message earlier. I see. Takuma said no more. As one of the influential figures in the Hyuga clan, he was privy to many inside details. Such as the collaboration Kaito had discussed with Hanabi. What he didn't know, however, was that Hayashi had actually been the first to reach a secret agreement with Kaito. Meanwhile, after speeding up for a while, Neji finally caught up with the other three. By then, Suigetsu was already busy provoking Karen again. Sasuke, that Hokage was right. Karen totally has a thing for you. Shut up, idiot Suigetsu. Karen, predictably, flew into a rage. Suigetsu cackled. Ha! Weren't you the one who got tongue-tied earlier? You bastard. Karen punched his head clean off. TCH. Obsessed much? Suigetsu's head dissolved into water before reforming. I'll smash you into puddles and freeze you into ice. Violent stalker. You're here. Sasuke, completely ignoring their bickering, turned to Neji. Uncle should be nearby. I'll leave it to you to pinpoint his exact location. Leave it to me. Neji remained equally composed as he activated his Byakugan once again. Chapter 308, the dimly lit cavern was illuminated by a faintly glowing pool. By the water's edge, spread across a fur rug, Madara, Izuna, and Tokaku sat idly playing cards. Meanwhile, Kaito was seated alone nearby, scribbling furiously on parchment. For the past 2 days, he had been deeply engrossed in studying the various curse techniques and ganjutsu within the passage before them. He had even ventured deep inside several times, gaining considerable insight. This passage was likely constructed by the Sage of Six Paths and his brother. The structure of its curse techniques bore a direct lineage to the sealing inscriptions left by Kaguya on the consciousness of the divine tree. Unlike the techniques displayed in combat, Researching curse inscriptions allowed him to understand the Otsutsuki clan's knowledge more directly and accurately. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the cavern, Sasuke's team of 4 encountered 3 Hyuga clansmen who had set out from Hidden Leaf village. "Najina-san!" Hinata exclaimed in delight upon seeing him. Neji, however, frowned disapprovingly. "Lady Hinata, what are you doing here?" I wanted to help Hanabi by doing more," Hinata replied, mustering her courage. Neji stared at her silently for a moment before sighing. "Do as you wish. I'll do my best." Hinata clenched her fists, refusing to back down this time. "That's good." Neji then nodded at the other 2. "Sister Toka, Rukani. It's been a while, Neji." Hyuga Toka greeted him warmly. "Indeed." Ruka agreed, clapping him on the shoulder enthusiastically. "Actually, we should be thanking you, Neji." "No." Neji shook his head firmly. "I didn't do anything worth gratitude. In the end, I was just acting impulsively and selfishly for my own freedom. But you gave us hope." Ruka insisted. "And because of you, Lord Kaido developed the technique to remove the caged bird seal." Toka smiled gently. "Neji, regardless of your motives, we of the branch family have benefited from it." She then turned to Sasuke, her smile widening. "And this must be Sasuke-kun. What an outstanding young man. Thank you for looking after our Neji." "Neji is my chosen teammate," Sasuke replied awkwardly before turning away and striding into the cavern. "Let's go find my uncle first." "Oi, Sasuke, are you blushing?" Suigetsu teased loudly. "Shut up." Karen punched him again before hurrying after Sasuke. "That girl's impossible to get along with," Suigetsu muttered, taking a swig from his water flask before glancing at Neji. "Right, be a Kugan brat? No, I think you're the difficult one." Neji shot him a deadpan look before walking past him into the cavern. "Hey, wait for me." Suigetsu scrambled after him. My, let's go as well." Toka chuckled, covering her mouth before leading Hinata and Ruka inside. Deep within the cavern, Kaito suddenly set down his brush. "They're here." He rolled up the scroll he had been writing on and tucked it, along with the brush, into his sleeve. Finally. Izuna tossed his cards aside. Madara shook his head and also set down his hand. "Huh? We're not finishing this round? Lord Madara, Lord Izuna?" Hikaku gathered the scattered cards. "Card games are unbearably dull," Izuna grumbled, rubbing his neck. "Especially for Uchiha with the Sharingan. When everyone could read and calculate each other's moves, there was no fun left in it." "Well then, let's take a break with some tea, Izuna-senpai." Kaito knelt beside them, flicking his sleeve to reveal a low table and tea set in the center. He then began preparing the tea with graceful, fluid motions, the aroma soon filling the cavern. Thus, when Sasuke and the others arrived at the heart of the cavern, they were greeted by an almost ethereal sight. The shimmering glow of the water, an elegant tea master performing a refined ceremony, 3 distinguished figures lounging casually on the rug, steam curling upward like mist in a dreamlike scene. "You've arrived." Kaito poured the tea into small cups, set down the pot, then smiled warmly as he straightened his sleeves. The group was momentarily stunned by the serene beauty before them. "Uncle." Only Sasuke remained unaffected, stepping forward to sit on the rug. "Grandfather Madara, Grandfather Izuna. And this is Grandfather Hikaku," Izuna added, gesturing to the man beside him. "Ahahaha." Hikaku laughed awkwardly. "Well, chronologically speaking, Grandfather is accurate, but considering the years I've actually lived, it feels a bit strange to be called that." "You could always have Sasuke call you Hikaku instead," Izuna remarked dryly. "As long as you don't mind calling me Grandfather." "Ahahaha." Hikaku coughed, lifting his cup. "Tea. Let's just drink tea. Lord Kaido." The others approached and bowed respectfully. "Please, sit." With another flick of his sleeve, Kaido conjured 2 more rugs. He then began preparing tea for the newcomers. "Sasuke," he said, glancing at Suigetsu and Karen. "I see you've found new companions?" Sasuke nodded, sipping his tea. "Yes. These 2 are Suigetsu and Karen. They were originally under Orochimaru's command, but he recommended them to me." "Oh?" Kaido's gaze swept over them, sharp enough to make both flinch. "Interesting." He smiled. "A Hazuki and an Uzumaki." "Uzumaki?" Izuna, Madara, and Hikaku all turned to Karen. "That bright red hair does resemble the Uzumaki," Madara mused. "Uzumaki?" Karen blinked in confusion. "Is that some famous clan?" Having grown up with only her mother in the harsh conditions of Hidden Grass Village, she had never known she belonged to a clan, let alone had a surname. It was strange, wasn't it? If she had a family, why had she and her mother lived such isolated, miserable lives? Why had her mother been drained of chakra until she died in agony? The Uzumaki clan once ruled the land of whirlpools, neighboring the land of fire. They specialized in sealing techniques and were known for their vibrant red hair and immense vitality. Kaido explained kindly. Unfortunately, the clan was nearly wiped out after the fall of Hidden Eddy Village. Wiped out? Karen's emotions churned violently. When? During the Second Shinobi World War. Kaito said. I suspect you are a descendant of one of the survivors. Chapter 309, I don't know. Karen's voice trembled with unexpected panic as her fingers unconsciously tightened around Sasuke's sleeve. I grew up with my mother in Hidden Grass Village, but she passed away not long after. She shook her head in confusion, murmuring. Mom never mentioned any of this to me. The Uzumaki clan possesses a unique physical constitution. I couldn't possibly mistake it. Kaito Uchiha set down his teacup with a gentle smile. But since these are matters of the past, there's no need for you to dwell on them. Karen found herself inexplicably soothed by the aura he exuded, staring blankly as she stammered. Why yes. I understand. Kaito merely glanced at her and Sasuke with an amused expression before shifting his attention elsewhere. It wouldn't be a bad thing if Sasuke were to marry an Uzumaki in the future. He exchanged a meaningful look with Izuna. Izuna nodded subtly in understanding. A union between the Uchiha and Uzumaki bloodlines might yield some interesting results. Kaito blinked and turned to the other side of the room. As for the three members of the Hyuga clan, has Lady Hanabi already briefed you on the specifics of this mission? Toka and Iruka exchanged glances, silently deferring to Hinata to handle the conversation. Yes. Hinata fidgeted under the collective gaze but steeled herself. I can't embarrass Hanabi or the Hyuga clan. She repeated the mantra in her mind. Hanabi has already explained everything. She replied, her voice trembling slightly. For this mission, we will follow your lead, Kaito-sama. There's no need to be nervous. Kaito smiled reassuringly. This operation isn't particularly dangerous. Why yes. Hinata nodded, feeling a little more at ease. Uncle. Sasuke yanked his sleeve free from Karen's grip and spoke up impatiently. Can we start the mission now? Eager, aren't you? Kaito cast him a sidelong glance. No need to rush. We'll depart shortly. His gaze swept over the group as he continued leisurely. However, before we proceed, there are a few things I'd like to clarify. At his words, everyone except the three elder Uchiha immediately straightened, adopting serious expressions. See that glowing pool behind me? Kaito pointed to the shimmering water surface. This is the direct passage to the moon. Despite having heard about this beforehand, the members of Sasuke's team and the Hyuga squad still eyed the luminous water with skepticism. Soon, we'll pass through this unique gateway to reach the moon. Kaito explained. Though I'm not entirely certain about the current situation there, I've already scouted the conditions within the passage. He proceeded to outline the mission plan, detailing precautions for traversing the passage, arrangements after landing on the moon, and contingency measures for unexpected situations. Understood? He finally asked. Yes. Good. Kaito stood up. Then let's move out. The group gathered at the edge of the pool. Madara took the lead, diving in without hesitation, and the others followed suit. Kaito took up the rear. As they descended through the strangely dry water, they soon emerged into an even more peculiar abyss. A second pool filled with densely packed golden orbs of varying sizes, their reflections dancing across the surface. Spherical rocks floated along the edges. Avoid touching those golden spheres. They're products of Genjutsu. Kaito flicked his wrist, sending talismans flying from his sleeve to attach themselves to everyone except the 5 Uchiha. But don't be too tense. Even if you accidentally fall under the illusion, these talismans will wake you. The group acknowledged his words and carefully navigated through the second layer of water, finally arriving in a dimly lit cavern. However, the moment they landed, a barrage of bubbles shot toward them. After evading the attack, Kaito observed the enormous, menacing crab and casually ordered. Sasuke, leave this thing to your team. Got it. Sasuke's hands flew through a series of seals. Fire style, great fireball. A blazing sphere intercepted the crab's bubble assault. My turn. Water style, surging water arm. Suigetsu's arms bulged as he swung the Kubakirbacho, severing the crab's massive claw in one strike. 8 trigrams mountain crusher. Neji descended from the cavern ceiling, his palm striking the crab's shell with enough force to shatter its carapace. The resulting shockwave obliterated its internal organs, delivering the final blow. So amazing. Hinata whispered in awe, watching as the three effortlessly dispatched the creature. Neji-san has grown even stronger. I promise to protect Hanabi. I have to work harder too. She clenched her fists, silently renewing her resolve. Sasuke. Karen immediately latched onto his arm. As expected of you. You were incredible. Hey. Suigetsu hoisted his sword onto his shoulder, scowling. Neji and I did most of the work, you know. Humphrey. Karen coldly ignored his protest before turning back to Sasuke with a pitiful expression. Sasuke. The mission ahead seems dangerous. Please protect me, okay? Just stay out of the fights. Sasuke impassively shook her off and strode deeper into the cavern. Sasuke. Karen hurried after him. Wait for me. Hey. Kaido chuckled. Our Sasuke is quite popular with the ladies, it seems. Indeed. Far more so than his uncle, apparently. Izuna remarked dryly. Ha ha ha. Kaido sounded oddly pleased. That's fine. The future of the Uchiha clan rests on that boy's shoulders. Hikaku laughed. True, but unlike nobles, shinobi don't usually take multiple wives. No matter. Sasuke doesn't have to remain a shinobi. Kaido waved a dismissive hand. Up ahead, Sasuke's ears burned crimson as his elders' shameless discussion continued. Karen, walking beside him, seethed internally. Ha. As if Sasuke would never be unfaithful. She studied his barely contained fury. See? He's about to explode. You corrupting old men. Yet the conversation behind them marched on. Family legacy is important, after all. Hikaku mused. Perhaps the clan leader should pull some strings. Buy the boy a noble title. Then he could marry as many women as he likes and father plenty of heirs. PFFT, ha 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 ha. Suigetsu finally burst out laughing. Chapter 310, listening to the teasing words of his elders, Sasuke's forehead kept twitching with irritation. He was both embarrassed and furious, desperately wanting to turn around and roar at them. But to maintain his composed image in front of his teammates, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and pretend he hadn't heard anything. Meanwhile, Karen's heart was a mix of sweetness and fury. What made her happy was that Sasuke's elders seemed to regard her as a potential future wife for him. Just thinking about it made her blush, pink bubbles practically floating around her. However, the moment she recalled those same elders joking about Sasuke marrying multiple wives, her temper flared. She barely restrained herself from lashing out. Humphrey. If it weren't for the fact that you're Sasuke's elders, I'd beat you all up. Karen adjusted her glasses in a self-deceiving manner, then couldn't help but sneak a glance at Sasuke's reaction. We're here. The unbearably tense Sasuke spotted the faint light streaming down from the cave's exit not far ahead and suddenly felt relieved. I'll check it out. He dashed forward like a gust of wind, leaping out of the cave's exit without hesitation. Emerging from the cave, Sasuke found himself in a dense, shadowy forest. The sound of waves echoed in the distance, and a soft, artificial sun hung in the blue sky. Soon, the others followed, jumping out of the cave one after another, surveying their surroundings. This is the moon? Suigetsu muttered in disbelief. It looks no different from the shinobi world. And that thing up there? A sun? No, that's not a sun. Neji said, activating his Byakugan. It's a large, artificially constructed device. There's even a castle inside it. Ruka also activated his Byakugan. Good. Madara smirked. Seems our target is right there. There's also an abandoned village over there. Neji shifted his gaze downward, spotting the ruins by the seaside. Let's check that out first. Kaido gestured for Neji to lead the way, then glanced up at the sky. As for the castle above, we'll deal with it later. Understood. Neji took the lead, guiding everyone toward the abandoned village by the shore. They soon arrived, weaving through the broken walls and collapsed structures. It seems this was once inhabited by the descendants of Hagoromo's brother. Kaido observed, studying the ruins around them. There. Neji suddenly froze, his Byakugan locking on to something. What is it? Kaido turned to him. It's an underground cemetery. Neji's expression grew distant as he unconsciously stepped onto a narrow path. Follow him. Noticing Neji's strange demeanor, Sasuke immediately went after him, the others close behind. Neji swiftly navigated the desolate path, stopping before a stone door embedded in a rocky cliff. With a heavy groan, the sealed door slowly opened before him. Neji! Sasuke called out, but Neji didn't react, stepping into the darkness beyond the door. TCH. Electricity crackled around Sasuke as he accelerated, rushing in after him. Hey! Neji! Sasuke! The impatient Suigetsu and Karen also sprinted through the stone door. Ah, that kid Sasuke, really? Kaito sighed, continuing at his leisurely pace. Completely ignoring the plan we discussed earlier. It's fine. Hikaku shrugged. Young people are bound to be impulsive. Let them suffer a little. It'll do them good. Izuna smirked coldly. Only Madara remained silent, his sharp eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the door. Kaito-sama. Hinata spoke up hesitantly. Kaito turned to her. What is it? Will Will they be okay? Hinata frowned worriedly. Neji-san seemed off just now. They'll be fine. Kaido gave her a reassuring smile before walking toward the stone door. If you're worried, let's go down and take a look. Yes. As they stepped inside, Kaido ignited a blue spiritual flame in his palm, illuminating the surroundings. Descending the stone steps, the space gradually expanded. Kaido flicked his wrist, sending the flame into the air, where it split into multiple glowing orbs, casting dim light across a vast underground cemetery. Countless tombstones stood in dense rows, stretching endlessly. The sound of fighting echoed from ahead. Following the noise, they saw Neji aggressively attacking Sasuke and Suigetsu, who were struggling to defend themselves without hurting him. As the group approached, Neji forcefully pushed Sasuke and Suigetsu back, his gaze sweeping over them. Shinobi of the earth. A hoarse, ancient voice emerged from Neji's mouth. This is no place for you. Hey Gormo? Recognizing the voice, Kaito stepped forward, studying Neji closely. You know my name? Neji. Or rather, the presence controlling him. Scrutinized Kaido in return. How? Did the summoning beasts tell you? No. You're not Hey Gormo. In a flash, Kaido appeared before Neji and lightly tapped his palm against his chest. Exorcism. A burst of spiritual light erupted as a translucent figure was forcibly ejected from Neji's body. Kaido caught the collapsing Neji, then looked up at the floating specter of Hey Gormo. Or rather, you're not the complete Hey Gormo. Kaito said, smirking. You're merely a fragment of chakra he left behind. You seem to know much. Hey Gormo stared down at him imperiously. Indeed. Kaito tossed Neji toward Sasuke. It seems the real Hey Gormo hasn't returned here in a long time. Hey Gormo remained silent. Then. Can you tell me what happened on the moon? Kaido pressed. This place is in ruins, and I doubt many remain in that artificial sun's castle. I have nothing to say to you. Hey Gormo refused to divulge anything, but his gaze suddenly shifted to Hinata in the distance. Princess of the Byakugan. He drifted toward her, slowly extending a hand. Such pure eyes. Truly rare. Princess? Hinata instinctively stepped back. A pity. Just as his hand was about to reach her, glowing blue seals suddenly lit up across his translucent form, freezing his movements. Yes, a pity. Kaido flicked out a talisman, which stuck to Hey Gormo's back. His figure grew fainter and fainter until he vanished entirely. Kaido caught the returning talisman between two fingers. A pity the real Hey Gormo isn't here. Chapter 311, as expected. Madara glanced around at the countless graves surrounding them, suddenly feeling a sense of weariness. He turned and walked toward the exit of the underground cemetery, saying, after you obtained the power of Enma, the Sage of Six Paths and his brother would no longer appear before you. True enough. Kaido chuckled and addressed the group. Let's head out first. We can talk more outside. Sasuke supported Neji as they walked at the back of the group. Hey, you alright? Suigetsu leaned in to examine Neji before turning to Karen. Hey, Karen, hurry up and heal Neji. No need. Before Karen could respond, Neji refused outright. I'm just weakened from excessive chakra depletion. I'll recover after some rest. Suigetsu pressed closer, curiosity burning in his eyes. So, that ghostly old man absorbed your chakra? And earlier, it looked like you were possessed. What did that feel like? Neji, still leaning on Sasuke, kept his head lowered, his eyes fixed on the ground. He had no intention of answering Suigetsu's questions. Hey. Neji. Suigetsu waved a hand in front of his face, undeterred. We really owe Sasuke's uncle this time. So this is what an onmyoji is like. Just like the legends say, exorcising ghosts and demons. He seemed unusually excited, rambling on without pause. Shut up. Sasuke shot him an impatient glare, his voice sharp. TCH. Suigetsu muttered under his breath, still unfazed. It's my first time seeing something like this, so of course I'm amazed. You've probably seen it all before. That's why you're so calm. Hey. Up ahead, Kaido, who had already reached the exit, suddenly turned back to stare at Suigetsu, a faint smile playing on his lips. Hazuki boy. Suigetsu, standing on the stone steps below, looked up. Backlit by the light, Kaido's silhouette carried an indescribable airiness. What is it? Suigetsu found himself inexplicably nervous. From what I've observed, many of the shinobi from Hidden Mist Village likely have traces of yokai blood in them. Kaido's voice was low and ominous. After all, quite a few shinobi born in the Land of Water possess inhuman traits, don't they? Is that so? Suigetsu stammered. That's just the result of ninjutsu. So, Suigetsu must have yokai blood too. Karen immediately seized the opportunity to mock him, pretending to have an epiphany. Uncle, you should exorcise this idiot yokai right away. Perhaps we should test it? Kaido raised a finger, the tip glowing with a faint blue spiritual light. At the same time, the others who had already stepped through the stone gate turned to look down at Suigetsu from above. Sasuke, save me. Suigetsu instantly ducked behind Sasuke before peeking out again. I'm not a yokai. I'm Sasuke's comrade. Hey. Kaido suddenly retracted his finger, his smile widening. Just a joke. Hurry up and come out. With that, he stepped through the stone gate and into the sunlight outside. Ahahaha. Karen burst into exaggerated laughter, pointing at Suigetsu. Suigetsu, you coward. Ha ha ha. You vicious fangirl. Suigetsu glared at her venomously. Enough. Sasuke cut them off sharply, still supporting Neji as he ascended the steps. Suigetsu and Karen obediently fell silent, though they continued to exchange heated glares. The group made their way back through the abandoned village. Throughout the journey, Suigetsu kept his distance from Kaido, always positioning himself as far away as possible. Though Kaido had seemingly only joked, Suigetsu's instincts screamed at him to stay away. Something about the man unsettled him deeply. Kaido noticed his reaction but merely smiled faintly, choosing not to provoke him further. Let's rest for now. Kaido took out the talisman that had absorbed Hagoromo's chakra earlier. I need to examine the information Hagoromo left behind. With that, he formed a one-handed seal. Summoning jutsu. A surge of purple energy manifested in the open space as the massive head of Inmao slowly emerged. Kaido tossed the talisman forward. Inmao's mouth opened wide, an eerie hand stretching out to snatch the talisman before retreating inside. Then, the deity began chewing. Kaido stepped closer, his black eyes shifting into the Mangekyo Sharingan, its five-pointed star pattern identical to Inmao's. After a few seconds of silent exchange, he nodded. I see. Kaido pressed his palms together, and Inmao's head gradually sank back, the purple energy dissipating. As you all know, chakra contains spiritual energy. Kaido addressed the group, who were watching him with keen interest. What Hagoromo left behind in the underground cemetery wasn't a simple clone. It was a construct created using advanced yin-yang style. By having Inmao read Hagoromo's chakra memories, I've learned what truly happened to the descendants of Hagoromo on the moon. His gaze swept over the members of the Hyuga clan present. To put it simply, the main family and the branch family went to war. And in the end, the branch family won, slaughtering every last member of the main family. What? The Hyuga members paled. Ha! Neji let out a bitter laugh. Even the descendants on the moon were divided into main and branch families? Indeed. However, the moon shinobi didn't have the caged bird seal. Kaido looked up at the sun in the sky. And the branch family didn't wage war against the main family because their freedom was restricted. Then, what was the reason? Hinata clasped her hands tightly, her voice trembling slightly. The branch family believed that the world created by the Sage of Six Paths was a failure. That shinobi had never ceased waging war. Kaido sneered. They saw themselves as the inheritors of Hagoromo's will, destined to destroy the shinobi world forged by the sage and create a new, better world in its place. The main family, on the other hand, held the opposite view. They believed that despite the constant wars, the shinobi world would gradually improve over time. When the two sides went to war, the branch family sacrificed their eyes to create an immensely powerful weapon, fusing all their Byakugan into a single construct, which ultimately secured their victory. Following Kaido's gaze, everyone looked up at the sun in the sky, its golden light radiating ceaselessly. So that's the weapon they created by combining all their eyes? Madara narrowed his eyes. The energy it emits is astonishing. I never imagined the Byakugan could be used like this. Izuna, however, focused on another detail, his tone laced with irritation. A failed world? Destruction and rebirth? Who do they think they are? Gods? Just then, a rift tore open in the sun. Countless figures astride flying birds surged forth, raining down a barrage of golden beams upon the group below. Chapter 312, finally, a reaction. Madara stood motionless, gazing up at the densely packed enemies descending from above. Kaido clasped his hands together, and a translucent blue barrier materialized, shielding the group. Golden beams rained down from the sky, exploding upon impact and causing the barrier's surface to ripple like disturbed water. Those are just puppets controlled by the Tenseigan. Kaido declared loudly. The only remaining moon ninja on the lunar surface is a single boy now. Boring. Madara immediately withdrew the overwhelming aura surging around him. Humphrey, if it's just a boy. Izuna turned his head. Sasuke, leave it to you. Understood. Sasuke responded promptly. In that case, I'll withdraw the barrier. Everyone, be careful. With that warning, Kaido dispelled the barrier. The group scattered swiftly, leaving Sasuke alone on the battlefield. Susanoo. A how-bodied giant manifested, encasing Sasuke in its protective form. Sasuke glanced upward at the swarm of puppets, bit his thumb, and performed the summoning jutsu. Caw. 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 A chorus of rough caws echoed as a flock of pitch-black crows materialized behind him. Enter. Transformation jutsu. Sasuke rapidly formed hand seals. Got it, caw. The crows suddenly compressed together. Poof. A cloud of white smoke erupted, revealing a massive crow flapping its wings. Go. Dismissing the Susanoo, Sasuke leaped onto the crow's back. Caw. The crow took flight, evading the golden beams fired by the puppets, Suigetsu. The crow streaked towards Suigetsu's location. Hearing his name, Suigetsu immediately jumped high, landing perfectly on the crow's back. Ascend. Caw. The crow weaved through the golden beams, carrying the two upward. Water style, water gun jutsu. Suigetsu extended his right hand like a pistol, firing condensed water bullets from his fingertips. One shot pierced straight through a flying puppet and a humanoid puppet riding it. Ha 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 ha. He laughed wildly, now dual-wielding his water bullets with both hands. Twin water guns. Not to be outdone, Sasuke drew the katana from his waist. Thunder crackled as blue lightning enveloped the blade, then rapidly extended. Lightning style, Chidori sharp spear. The electrified blade, now over 10 meters long, slashed through multiple puppets in a single swing. As Sasuke and Suigetsu soared through the sky on the crow, shattered puppets rained down. Soon, the once overwhelming swarm was more than half cleared. Keep going. Under Sasuke's command, the crow shot straight toward the sun. The two deflected the puppets' energy attacks with their jutsu, retaliating with even greater force. Upon nearing the sun, Sasuke swung his blade at its sealed surface. Clang. The impact reverberated, forcing Sasuke's arm back. Yet the sun remained unscathed. TCH. Sasuke extinguished the lightning on his blade. Suigetsu, take over defense. Crow, fall back. Got it. Caw. Suigetsu activated exploding water arm jutsu, swelling his arm as he drew the executioner's blade. He spun the massive sword like a whirlwind, blocking the golden beams. Caw. Caw. The crow flapped its wings, retreating. Meanwhile, Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan spun, summoning an incomplete Susanoo. Only its two massive arms manifested, drawing back a colossal bow. Kagetsuchi. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Black flames erupted violently along the arrow nocked in the Susanoo's bow. Fire. The blazing black arrow shot forth, striking the golden sun. Crack. A fissure split its surface. Before it could regenerate, the black flames of Amaterasu engulfed it. Ha 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 ha. Suigetsu laughed maniacally, alternating between swinging his sword and firing water bullets. On the ground, Kaido shielded his eyes as he observed the battle above. It seems the artificial sun can replenish its energy via the Tenseigan. Breaking through won't be easy. Tenseigan? Izuna turned to him curiously. Kaido explained. Both you and Madara-sama have seen it. Otsutsuki Hagoromo's evolved Byakugan is called the Tenseigan. Thus, his descendants named the weapon they created by fusing Byakugan the same. Neji couldn't hold back his question. Uncle Kaido, can the Byakugan evolve like the Sharingan? It can. Kaito nodded firmly. Then. How? Neji's voice trembled with barely contained excitement. If the Rinnegan is the ultimate evolution of the Uchiha's Sharingan, then the Tenseigan is a pinnacle of the Hyuga's Byakugan. Kaido elaborated. The other three Hyuga, Hinata, Toka, and Ruka, listened intently. As for how to evolve the Byakugan into the Tenseigan, Kaito met Neji's hopeful gaze but shook his head. Given the genetic disparity between the Hyuga and the Otsutsuki, achieving this evolution is nearly impossible. Why? Neji clenched his teeth, unwilling to accept this. Kaido chuckled lightly. The Uchiha clan, across countless generations, produced only one. Madara-sama. Who attained the Rinnegan, the same eyes as the Sage of Six Paths. And even that involved immense serendipity. As he spoke, he winked at Madara. Humphrey. Madara turned his head away, understanding Kaido's implication. His Rinnegan was the result of too many coincidences. Being the reincarnation of Indra's chakra, Hashirama as Azura's vessel, and Black Zetsu's manipulations. Without any single step, it would have been impossible. Neji's expression darkened, but he pressed on. At least Madara-sama succeeded, didn't he? Unlike Hinata's obliviousness, Toka and Iruka were stunned. Madara? Was this overwhelmingly powerful figure traveling with them the Madara Uchiha? Exchanging glances, they struggled to suppress their shock. This was the legendary figure who once stood shoulder to shoulder with the first Hokage. Was this Kaido's trump card? Kaito sensed their turmoil and nearly face-palmed. The presence of Inmadio didn't faze them this much. Do they think I just named my summon after the king of hell? Shaking his head slightly, he answered, Neji, the essence of a shinobi's power is chakra. Whether it's ninjutsu or KK Genkai, all derive from variations of chakra. Seeing Neji nod, he continued. To put it bluntly, the Otsutsuki are inherently unique. Without their lineage's chakra, natural evolution of your eyes is improbable. So, there's no path to strive for? Neji's fists trembled with frustration. Not necessarily. Neji's eyes lit up as Kaido pointed at the artificial sun above. There's a ready-made Tenseigan right there. If you can absorb its ocular power, evolution isn't out of reach. Chapter 313, Evolution. The Tenseigan. Both Neji and the duo of Toka and Ruka found their breathing growing uneven. At that moment, Izuna suddenly spoke up. Forget the thanks. Why did that Hagoromo guy earlier try to control this kid into going to the underground tomb? Kaido glanced at Neji and explained. Ever since Hagoromo last met us in the Hall of the King of Hell, he never returned. The other Hagoromo left on the moon wanted to take over Neji's body to go to the shinobi world. So, Hagoromo has already followed the Sage of Six Paths to the Pure Land. Izuna mused, crossing his arms and sneering up at the sky. That guy still has another descendant living inside the artificial sun, doesn't he? Why not take over that boy's body instead? The Hall of the King of Hell? The Sage of Six Paths? The Pure Land? Aside from the three Uchiha, everyone else was utterly lost. Were these two being serious? Why was the conversation getting more and more outrageous? Unlike the somewhat confused Hinata and Karen, or an Neji, who was already somewhat accustomed to such things, Toka and Ruka, a seasoned shinobi, felt like they had suffered more shocks in a single day than they had in their entire 20-plus years of life combined. Yet, Kaido showed no intention of sparing their feelings. That boy was born without eyes and has never left his castle, he said, raising his gaze to where Sasuke and Suigetsu were still struggling to breach the surface of the artificial sun. He chuckled helplessly. It seems Sasuke still needs some help. While Amaterasu's flames can damage the outer protective layer, the Tenseigan's immense energy is constantly repairing it. Uncle Kaido. Neji forced himself to calm down and pointed at Hinata. Why did that person say Hinata-sama eyes are Byakugan of exceptionally rare purity? Exactly what it sounds like. Kaido replied, turning to look at the flustered Hinata. In terms of innate talent, Hinata is likely the most gifted member of the Hyuga clan today. That's impossible. Neji found it hard to accept, and his feelings toward Hinata grew even more complicated. If that were really the case, why was Hinata like this? It was nothing short of a waste. Hearing Kaido's words, Toka and Ruka also cast complicated glances at Hinata, sharing the same thought. I'm not. Under the weight of everyone's stares, Hinata completely panicked, waving her hands frantically, her face filled with distress. You. Seeing her like this only irritated Neji further. He scoffed and turned away. Neji-san. Hinata bit her lip, lowering her head in shame and frustration. Are you all wondering why she hasn't demonstrated strength matching her talent? Kaito raised an eyebrow. Neji shook his head. I've said it before. Hinata-sama's personality is too kind. She's simply not suited to be a shinobi. Hinata's body trembled slightly, and she buried her face even deeper. What should I do? What can I do? Neji continued mercilessly. Someone who hesitates to hurt others at every turn, whose fists waver with uncertainty, can never master the Hyuga clan's gentle fist taijutsu. Suddenly, he let out a mocking laugh. And yet, this kind of person is the most talented one? How ridiculous. What should I do? Hinata clenched her teeth, desperately holding back tears. I don't want to cry. If I really am the most talented, why do I always fail? Hey! Karen, who had been watching silently, suddenly couldn't take it anymore. Rolling up her sleeves, she stormed over angrily. Grabbing Neji by the collar, she glared at him fiercely. What the hell are you saying, you stupid bastard? This has nothing to do with you. Neji coldly slapped her hand away. Karen responded by throwing a punch. Aren't you her brother? Why are you spouting such pointless nonsense? Slap. Neji caught her fist, his expression still icy as he stared at her in silence. Is kindness a mistake for a shinobi? Karen's eyes suddenly welled up with tears, her voice growing increasingly hysterical. Is kindness a sin? Neji was momentarily stunned but stood his ground. Kindness isn't wrong, but for a shinobi, being too kind is simply untimely. Is that so? Karen suddenly withdrew her hand, her legs giving way as she slumped to the ground. Untimely, huh? She took off her glasses, roughly wiping away her tears. Are you okay? Hinata, who had been frozen in shock, hurried over to help her up. No need. I'll just sit here. Karen put her glasses back on, hugging her knees as she looked up at Hinata. So, your name's Hinata Hyuga? You really are as kind as he said. Why yes. I'm Hinata Hyuga. Nice to meet you. Hinata stammered out her introduction, awkwardly crouching beside her. My mom was someone just as kind as you. Karen suddenly said, for some reason opening up to Hinata. Hinata blushed, offering a shy smile. Maybe that bastard Neji isn't entirely wrong. Karen muttered, resting her chin on her knees. If Mom hadn't been so kind. If she hadn't tried to save others. Those scum from Hidden Grass Village wouldn't have discovered her special abilities. We wouldn't have been captured. And she wouldn't have died. The fiery-tempered girl now looked unbearably fragile, leaving Hinata even more at a loss. She wanted to say something comforting, but her words failed her. All she could do was gaze at Karen with worried eyes. Even though I know it wasn't Mom's fault. It was all those bastards doing. Karen suddenly gripped Hinata's hand tightly, staring straight into her pure white eyes. But I hated her kindness back then. It put both of us in danger. Hinata let her hold her hand, staring back in stunned silence. Untimely. Karen tightened her grip, then suddenly laughed. That idiot Neji put it perfectly. If you don't have the strength to protect yourself and the people you care about, kindness is untimely. Hey, princess. She suddenly adopted a tough girl tone, patting Hinata's head with her other hand. You're lucky you grew up in peaceful Hidden Leaf Village. Your kindness hasn't cost you anything. Yet. Hinata suddenly felt a pang of sorrow, her eyes reddening. Maybe I'm being selfish, but I don't want to change who I am. Then you'll have to work even harder. Kaido's voice cut in. Hinata startled, turning to him. Kaido-sama? You can hold on to your kindness. Kaito said with a faint smile. But you'll need the strength to protect it. I understand. Hinata's gaze grew resolute. Without power, kindness can bring disaster. She turned back to Karen, offering a timid smile. Thank you, Karen. I'll do my best. Karen blinked, then looked away with a huff. TCH. Whatever. Chapter 314, Caw. 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 Accompanied by the grating cries of crows, Sasuke and Suigetsu returned to the ground empty-handed. Yet, everyone else was focused solely on Hinata and Karen, not sparing the two a single glance. Just saying you'll work hard is useless. Karen stood up again and looked down at Hinata. Never show mercy to enemies who would harm you or those important to you. Before Hinata could react, Karen lunged towards Sasuke, trying to cling to his arm. Sasuke. You're back. Humphrey. Sasuke dodged her with visible irritation, his gaze darkening as he stared at the artificial sun in the sky. At least you took care of those puppets. Kaido patted his shoulder reassuringly. And no new ones have appeared since. Hikaku added with a smile. Let me handle this. Izuna stepped forward. That brat Kaido mentioned probably doesn't dare show his face now. Give it a try. Madara narrowed his eyes. If you fail, I'll take over. Don't underestimate me, brother. A flash of red light gleamed in Izuna's eyes as he instantly activated the complete form of Susanoo. The winged tangle-like warrior giant raised its sword, its massive wings flapping as it soared into the sky. Susanoo hovered just outside the artificial sun, its colossal blade poised for a strike. Swish. The sword cleanly sliced through the protective layer covering the sun's surface. Yet, energy surged, and the thin barrier instantly repaired itself. TCH. Izuna manipulated Susanoo to raise the sword again. Swish. 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 A rapid succession of slashes struck the same spot. Then, just as the fissure began to close, Susanoo thrust the blade deep inside. Let me open the path. Kaido leaped into the air, riding the currents of natural energy to fly toward the artificial sun. In moments, he reached his destination, landing atop Susanoo's massive sword. The five-pointed star in his eyes spun as his hands formed a rapid series of seals. With another leap. Izuna. At Kaido's signal, Susanoo's blade swung horizontally, widening the fissure on the sun's surface. Kaido's gaze locked onto the crack. With a sharp exhale, a pentagram pattern materialized over the rupture, instantly forming a barrier that bridged the inside and outside of the artificial sun. Come up. Kaido gestured to the group below before stepping into the barrier's passageway. Izuna dispelled Susanoo and followed. Below, the others were ferried up one by the crows. Even Madara lazily hitched a ride. Once everyone passed through the barrier, a bizarrely structured, towering castle came into view. Let's go. Kaido led the way toward the castle gates. Clank. 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 Countless mechanized puppets of varying designs surged from the castle, unleashing another overwhelming barrage of golden beams. Then let's each handle our share. Kaido flicked his sleeve, a defensive barrier enveloping him. Several talismans shot out, their inscriptions glowing blue. In an instant, the talismans multiplied, streaking through the air in dense arcs before slamming into the puppets. TCH. Eager to redeem himself, Sasuke dashed forward, unleashing a massive fire-style jutsu. Fire-style, majestic flame annihilation. Sasuke. Don't hog the spotlight. Suigetsu grinned, forming hand seals. Water-style, water dragon jutsu. Hikaku stood beside Madara, sighing nostalgically. It's been a while since we fought alongside you two. These worthless puppets don't require our combined effort. Izuna drew his ninjato, flames erupting along its edge. Uchiha style, blazing sword dance. He flashed into the puppet swarm, cleaving through several in a single slash. You go ahead. Madara crossed his arms, yawning. Such opponents aren't worth my time. As you wish, Lord Madara. Hikaku darted to Izuna's side, their synchronized attacks swiftly decimating the enemy forces. Meanwhile, the others joined the fray. Until only Kaido and Madara remained idle. Kaido eventually withdrew, walking over to Madara. Wonder if we'll find Kaguya's seal here. Madara mused, scanning their surroundings. Unlikely. Kaido replied indifferently. And it's not yet time for Kaguya's return. Boring. Madara sat on a nearby rock. I never expected the moon to be like this. Had I known, I wouldn't have mobilized everyone. Kaido shrugged helplessly. Seems I overestimated the situation. By then, the group had cleared the puppets, advancing toward the castle's interior. Let's take a look. Kaito motioned to Madara. Truthfully, I came mainly for the possible archives and texts left by Hamura's descendants. Humphrey. Madara stood. He, too, held some interest in the remnants of the Otsutsuki clan. Just then, the battle ahead took an unexpected turn. The remaining puppets swiftly encircled Hinata. Princess of the Byakugan. A white-haired youth descended gracefully, standing before Hinata with a polite bow. His eyes remained closed. To think you'd come here willingly. Perhaps this was fate all along. Who are you? Hinata assumed her gentle fist stance, wary. I am Otsutsuki Tonarai. His unseen gaze fixed on her face before he dropped a bombshell. Your fiancé. Fiancé? Hinata recoiled, only for the puppets to block her retreat. You must be mistaken. She shook her head frantically. I have no fiancé. You may have forgotten. Tonarai's voice dripped with faint tenderness. We met in childhood. From that moment, you were destined to be my bride. No. Hinata spun, shattering a puppet with a palm strike, only for another to immediately fill the gap. Then I'll have to subdue you myself. She lunged at Tonarai. Gentle fist heart. Chapter 315. Hinata mustered her courage and took the initiative to attack, but unfortunately, she posed no threat to Tonarai. After only a brief exchange, she inevitably found herself at a disadvantage. At that moment, the others finally arrived at the outer perimeter of the encirclement formed by countless puppets. Toka and Ruka anxiously tried to break through the puppet defenses but lacked the strength to do so. Though the group had managed to defeat some of the puppets, an endless stream of new ones continuously flew out from the castle, replenishing the encircling forces. Leave it to me. Neji's face became marked with gray senjutsu seals as he swiftly dashed past the two. His figure weaved through the dense swarm of puppets, his hands striking their bodies with the precision of fluttering butterflies. The dull thuds of impact rang out incessantly, and one after another, the puppets shattered and collapsed to the ground. Neji has gotten much stronger. Toka remarked, staring at Neji's back in astonishment. Though he wielded the Hyuga clan's traditional gentle fist technique, the destructive power in Neji's hands was clearly on another level compared to anyone else. 8 trigrams palms revolving heaven. A massive sphere of chakra spun rapidly, violently repelling all the puppets surrounding Neji. Meanwhile, at the center of the encirclement, Hinata's battle had grown increasingly perilous. Stop running away, Hinata. Tonarai said calmly as he effortlessly dodged her attacks. This is the destiny of your Hyuga clan. I've never heard of such a thing. Hinata was slightly out of breath, but for once, she did not retreat. Steadying herself, the chakra erupting from her hands blazed like blue flames. Gentle step twin lion fists. The chakra around her hands took the form of roaring lion heads as she launched another assault against Tonarai. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Tonarai blocked Hinata's twin lion fists with his hands, quickly finding an opening and striking her abdomen with a palm strike. Ugh! Hinata's movements froze, and her body went limp. Come with me obediently. Tonarai caught Hinata as a circular platform suddenly rose beneath their feet, swiftly lifting them into the air. Hinata. Neji, witnessing this, desperately accelerated his advance. However, the puppets around him surged forward in waves, frantically obstructing his path. Neji. Sasuke's voice rang out as a massive, translucent chakra arm stretched out from another direction, grabbing Neji and hurling him toward the ascending platform. Neji shot through the air, closing in on the floating platform, and thrust his palm toward Tonarai's chest. Tonarai, who had kept his eyes closed the entire time, suddenly smirked in triumph. The platform beneath his feet shifted automatically, evading Neji's attack. At the same time, several flying puppets emerged from the castle, each holding golden orbs that fired beams of light at Neji. With no other choice, Neji activated Revolving Heaven once more to block the attack, but the force sent him plummeting back to the ground. "I'll help you." Suigetsu, also thrown by Sasuke Susanoo, swung his Kubika Ribicho at the platform beneath Tonarai's feet. Tonarai manipulated the platform to ascend rapidly, gazing down at them from above before declaring loudly, "Fools! Your arrival is timely. Witness the destiny of Hamura." TCH. Suigetsu and Neji landed on the ground together, their attacks having failed. "Oh? What do you mean by Hamura's destiny?" Kaido, who had been standing at a distance without intervening until now, finally spoke up. "The destruction of the world created by the Sage of Six Paths, of course." Tonarai replied, opening his eyes, revealing two hollow, pitch-black sockets. "From the moment you set foot on the moon, annihilation was inevitable." "Pretentious nonsense." Uchiha, standing nearby, scoffed. "A brat like you thinks he can destroy the world? You wouldn't understand," Tonarai said with a faint smile. "Once the moon fully descends, the shinobi world will meet its end." "What do you mean?" Sasuke frowned, looking up at the sky. Kaito spread out his sensory perception and instantly grasped the situation. "I see. You sensed it, didn't you?" Tonarai asked proudly. "The moon is moving toward the shinobi world." "Yeah." Kaito showed little surprise. "I didn't expect the Tenseigan to have such an ability." He suddenly levitated into the air and addressed the others, "I'll leave this place to you. Don't let him capture any of the princess." With that, he turned and flew swiftly in the direction his senses guided him. "Stop him!" Tonarai commanded. A swarm of puppets immediately pursued Kaido, firing golden beams at his retreating figure. "Looks like I'll have to put in some effort after all." Izuna sighed as his colossal, fully formed Susanoo materialized, intercepting all the puppets in its path. "Save Hinata." Sasuke's half-formed Susanoo reached toward the sky. Kaido, without looking back, disappeared into the castle. Navigating through a series of winding corridors, he soon arrived in a vast hall. This must be it. He leaped onto a massive device in the center of the room. Countless Byakugan had been gathered together, forming a golden orb that emitted a soft, radiant glow. "So this is the so-called Tenseigan?" Madara's voice sounded from behind him. "You came too?" Kaido didn't turn around. "Indeed. I never imagined that combining so many Byakugan could grant the power to move the moon. What do you plan to do with it?" Madara stepped beside him. "Ordinary people can't touch it," Kaito said, narrowing his eyes. "The Tenseigan's curse technique absorbs the chakra of anyone who isn't a descendant of Hamura." He placed his hand on the surface of the Tenseigan and grinned. "But I won't have that problem. Since I don't possess chakra." "Humphrey." Madara chuckled. "You intend to claim this for yourself?" "Exactly." Kaito nodded. "Whether as a weapon or an energy source, it'll be useful in the future. Do as you wish." Madara took one last glance before jumping down from the device's base. Kaito followed, clasping his hands together. Summoning technique, gates of the underworld. An enormous gate materialized out of thin air, swinging open to reveal Kaito standing at its entrance. "Little Kaito?" "Clan leader." "Kaito." "Everyone." Kaito waved at the gathering clansmen. "Please clear the area in front of the gate. I need to bring in something big." Once the space was cleared, he turned and clasped his hands again. "Susanoo." A half-formed giant of Susanoo appeared within the limited space. "Let's begin." The Susanoo reached out, gripping the Tenseigan device and lifting it with tremendous force before placing it inside the gates of the underworld. "What is this? So many eyes." Curious exclamations echoed from within the gate as Kaito stepped inside. "Hey!" Indra grabbed the wrist of a curious young clansman before he could touch the device. "Don't." He turned to Kaito at the entrance. "What's the meaning of this?" Chapter 316. A flash of red light flickered in Kaito's eyes as he transmitted the entire sequence of events to Indra through Ganjutsu. "So that's how it is." Indra's gaze darkened, his expression remaining cold as he turned to look at the massive Tenseigan device. The result of countless ocular powers stacked together. He sneered. "It seems not only the descendants of the old man, but even Uncle's lineage are still killing each other. Why do you think Otsutsuki Hagoromo didn't stop any of this?" Kaito raised an eyebrow. Just like how the Sage of Six Paths never stopped the generations-long feud between you and Azura? TCH. Indra's voice was icy. How would I know what the old man and uncle truly thought? Kaido only smiled faintly. Then let's discuss it later, senior. For now, I need to close this door to sever the connection between the Tenseigan and the moon. Humphrey. Do as you wish. Indra grabbed the young boy who had tried to touch the Tenseigan earlier and strode deeper into the hall. See you later. Kaido waved at the clan members still watching him before stepping outside. As he clasped his hands together once more, the gates of Inma Palace slowly closed, then dissolved from solid to intangible, vanishing into thin air. 5 minutes earlier, outside the castle. After Kaido and Madara left, the battle outside quickly reached its conclusion. Otsutsuki Tonarai had severely underestimated the strength of the intruders who had came to the moon. Though he had taken Hinata hostage, he was soon overpowered once Izuna and Hikaku began fighting in earnest. Neji seized the opportunity to rescue Hinata, and Tonarai was swiftly defeated and captured. Yet, he refused to surrender, still commanding an endless stream of puppets in an attempt to free himself. If only I had obtained the eyes in time. Tonarai, now seated on the ground with most of his chakra pathways sealed, glared at Hinata with his empty eye sockets. Hinata, who had just regained consciousness, stood nearby with her head lowered, unease written all over her face. You wanted Hinata's eyes. Neji, who was guarding Tonarai, pressed a finger against him again, cutting off the chakra flow in another pathway. Your eyes aren't bad either. Tonarai looked up at Neji and smiled faintly. But I wanted the best. Now you'll get nothing. Neji's voice was laced with scorn. Gathering your clansmen's eyes to slaughter the other half of your kin. Only to end up as the blind last survivor. A fitting curse for your lineage. We were right. Tonarai's voice suddenly rose sharply. Hagoromo's destiny must be fulfilled. No one can stop it now. Is that so? Neji's gaze shifted past the others still fighting the puppets, toward where Kaito had gone. At that moment, all the puppets suddenly stiffened, collapsing to the ground with a cacophony of clattering metal. Simultaneously, the golden spherical barrier enveloping the castle began to crumble and dissipate. It seems they've succeeded. Neji looked down at Tonarai. Impossible. No one without Hagoromo's blood can interfere with the Tenseigan. Tonarai roared in disbelief. I don't know how it happened, but the moon should have stopped moving now. Hikaku remarked, looking up at the sky. Yeah. Izuna glanced at Tonarai, whose composure had finally shattered, and smirked dismissively. And here I was, expecting this moon expedition to be more exciting. What a letdown. It's not over yet. Kaido's voice carried from a distance. Oh? Izuna turned to see Kaido and Madara approaching. Let's regroup first. Kaito said as he landed beside Izuna. Everyone, head into the castle and find some food. Understood. Sasuke glanced up at the towering castle before turning to Kaito. There were a lot of things I didn't understand during this operation. Feels like I missed a lot? We'll talk later. Kaito patted his shoulder and led the way into the castle. Rest for now. The 5 Kage summit is about to begin. Oh? You've meddled in that too? Izuna asked. Of course. Kaito's voice carried amusement. It's a rare gathering that will decide the future of the shinobi world. How could I miss it? I doubt the Akatsuki will either. Most of those present were already accustomed to Kaido's shocking statements. As for the newcomers, Kaido glanced back at the 3 Hyuga ninja and the 2 new members of Sasuke's team, all staring at him in stunned silence. He could ensure they wouldn't leave the moon before things were settled. Land of Iron. Amid the swirling snow, Tsunade finally arrived at the venue of the 5 Kage summit, accompanied by Kakashi and Takuma. Welcome, Hokage-sama. A lean, long-bearded samurai stepped forward. I am General Mifune of the Land of Iron. Thank you. Tsunade removed her hat. Have the other 4 arrived yet? Mifune answered honestly. Only the Mizukage has yet to arrive. I see. When does the meeting begin? Tsunade looked up at the imposing castle ahead. Mifune gestured for her to follow. The summit will commence tomorrow. For now, please allow my subordinates to escort you to your quarters. Much obliged. Guided by 2 Iron Country samurai, Tsunade and her entourage entered the castle and were led without delay to their prepared rooms. Once inside, Tsunade sat down and asked the samurai. We didn't run into anyone from the other villages on the way. I take it our lodgings are spaced out? Ah. Yes. The masked samurai's tone carried slight awkwardness. Tomorrow, once the meeting begins, all the Kage will convene. Got it. Tsunade waved them off. You may go. Understood, Hokage-sama. Once the samurai left, Tsunade turned to Kakashi and Takuma. You two must be exhausted from the journey. Get some rest. Hokage-sama. Kakashi and Takuma exchanged glances. We'll take shifts. You're seasoned shinobi. Suit yourselves. Tsunade stood and walked into the inner chamber. As the door closed, a figure abruptly appeared by the low table near the windowsill. What are you doing here? Tsunade's tone lacked surprise as she sat across from the figure, setting her hat aside. Kaito smiled, pouring 2 cups of tea. Please. He slid one toward her. Humphrey. Tsunade picked up the cup, sniffed it, then eyed the composed young man. Are you the real one or a clone? A clone. Kaito cradled his cup. Just here to witness the spectacle. Chapter 317, I suspect the Raikage called this 5 Kage summit to demand answers. Tsunade said, lowering her gaze to the tea in her cup. According to intelligence, the Akatsuki has ties to every major village. Except Hidden Cloud's village. Kaito nodded. From what I know, the Raikage and the Eight Tails Jinchuriki are as close as brothers. If he can't swallow this humiliation, his ultimate goal is to use this as leverage to unite the villages and pool their strength to eradicate the Akatsuki. True. Tsunade lifted her eyes, giving him a knowing smirk. And that's exactly what you anticipated, isn't it? Kaito smiled faintly, turning his gaze to the snow-covered landscape outside the window. Under normal circumstances, even with leverage, the Raikage's demands would be difficult to fulfill. He said, shifting his attention back to Tsunade. But now, with Nagato, who also seeks war. In the picture, the 5 great shinobi villages, despite their mutual hostility, will have no choice but to unite. Only after confirming that Nagato possesses power beyond what any single village can handle alone. Tsunade remarked, well aware of how difficult true cooperation between the villages would be. That day will come. Kaito said with certainty. Tsunade shook her head. Who would have thought that the current state of the shinobi world, including the impending war, has been secretly orchestrated by you? No, this time, I won't be doing anything. Kaito gave a mysterious smile and set his teacup down on the table. Fate tends to follow its original trajectory by inertia. In the past, I merely nudged things slightly. You've already done more than enough. Tsunade also set down her cup, stretching as she stood. Who knows where you'll ultimately lead this world? As someone who's already died once, I don't have the energy to worry about it anymore. She walked to the bed and turned to glare at him. Whatever you plan to do at the 5 Kage summit, I'm going to rest now. You should leave. Kaito remained unfazed. Lady Tsunade, your current body is essentially a vessel crafted from the divine tree. You don't actually need rest. When I say I'm resting, I'm resting. Tsunade tossed her outer robe aside and flopped onto the bed unceremoniously, still glaring at him. Understood. I won't disturb you further, Lady Tsunade. The corner of Kaito's mouth twitched as his figure abruptly shrank, leaving behind only a small paper doll in his place. The paper doll nimbly leaped onto the table, then onto the windowsill, slipping through a gap in the window and vanishing into the snowstorm outside. Humphrey. Tsunade closed her eyes, settling into a light repose. Outside the window, the small white paper doll swirled amidst the flurrying snow, rising and falling with the wind until it was finally swept downward by a fierce gust. At the castle gates, the Land of Iron's general, Mifune, stood waiting with several samurai for the Mizukage's arrival. The paper doll silently attached itself to the back of one of the samurai, gradually merging into the gaps of his armor. Unseen beneath the armor, a faint spiritual glow flickered as the mental energy stored within Kaito's paper clone quietly invaded the samurai's consciousness. Compared to Hidden Leaf Village's Yamanaka clan, Kaito, as a non-myoji, held a far greater advantage in mental manipulation. The samurai's body stiffened for an instant before returning to normal. Mifune immediately turned his head sharply. What's wrong, Kotaro? My apologies, General. Kaito, controlling the samurai, bowed his head. Mifune wasn't overly harsh, merely asking. You seem distracted just now. What's the matter? Having previously investigated the basic details of his targets, Kaito's paper clone awkwardly rubbed the back of his fully enclosed helmet. I forgot to buy the gift I promised my wife, he admitted softly. Mifune burst into laughter, clapping him on the shoulder. Ah, newlywed troubles, eh? I remember you just got married. Can't neglect your wife's happiness. The surrounding samurai joined in with good-natured teasing. A real man doesn't forget his promises to his wife, Kotaro. Better hope she doesn't kick you out of bed tonight. Laughter echoed through the group. Kaito chuckled along awkwardly before bowing again to Mifune. My apologies, General. Don't let it happen again. Mifune said sternly, then addressed the others. All of you. During the 5 Kage summit, maintain the highest vigilance. Ensure the conference proceeds smoothly in the Land of Iron. Yes, General. The samurai chorused. Mifune nodded in satisfaction before turning his gaze back to the road ahead. They're here, he announced, straightening. Prepare to welcome the Mizukage. Kaido, still controlling Kotaro's body, looked into the distance. 3 figures gradually emerged from the snowstorm. A slender woman wearing the Mizukage's hat, a middle-aged man with an eye patch, and a young man carrying a massive sword. Soon, they arrived at the gates. "Welcome, Lady Mizukage." Mifune stepped forward to greet them. After brief formalities, a designated escort led the Mizukage and her entourage into the castle. Kaido had never investigated Hidden Mist Village's affairs before, making this his first encounter with the 5th Mizukage, who had never before appeared in the shinobi world. Her strength seems decent, he assessed silently, having subtly probed her as she passed. "Everyone." Mifune addressed the samurai once the Mizukage had entered. "Now that all 5 Kage have arrived, carry out your assigned guard duties without fail." "Yes." The samurai dispersed after Mifune, with Kaido's controlled Kotaro remaining by Mifune's side, eventually standing guard outside the general's quarters. However, shortly after Mifune entered, the towering figure of the 4th Raikage appeared at the end of the hallway. "Lord Raikage." Kaito stepped forward. "How may I assist you?" The Raikage, barely spared the fully armored samurai a glance, speaking in a commanding tone. "Inform your general. I have matters to discuss with him." Kaito exchanged a glance with the other guard. A's expression darkened, his presence oppressive. "Is there a problem?" Before they could respond, the door slid open, and Mifune stepped out. "Lord Raikage." "General Mifune." A gave a curt nod. The two locked eyes for a moment before Mifune reluctantly stepped aside. "Please, come in." "Appreciate it." Though his words were polite, A strode into the room without hesitation. As the door closed, Kaido extended his sensory perception inside. "To what do I owe the pleasure, Lord Raikage?" Mifune's voice came through clearly. "General." A's voice was firm. "I am here to propose an alliance." Chapter 318, Cooperation? "Lord Raikage, forgive my bluntness." Mifune's voice was firm. "You must be aware that the Land of Iron has always maintained a neutral stance. Though I serve as its general, I cannot bypass the daimyo to privately form an alliance with Hidden Cloud's village." Inside the room, Mifune sat facing A, the 4th Raikage. A, despite his reputation as a hot-headed warrior, spoke with measured calm. "Of course. I have no intention of forcing the Land of Iron to abandon its neutrality." Mifune gave him a surprised glance before asking patiently. "In that case, what kind of cooperation did you have in mind, Lord Raikage?" "I want you, General Mifune, to facilitate a united front among the 5 great shinobi villages during the Kage summit. To eradicate the Akatsuki once and for all." A's words were laced with fury, his thoughts undoubtedly on his kidnapped brother, Killer B. "This." Mifune appeared deep in thought. General Mifune. A pressed on. "Aside from Hidden Leaf Village's 9 tails, the Akatsuki has already gathered the power of 8-tailed beasts. They are now a threat to the entire shinobi world. We cannot allow them to continue unchecked." "Very well. I agree." Mifune needed only a few seconds to make his decision. This shouldn't be difficult. Every major village has suffered losses at Akatsuki's hands. I imagine they all share the desire to eliminate them completely. He met A's gaze. "Even if you hadn't asked, I would have proposed the same." "Then I thank you, General Mifune." A nodded. "There's one more thing." "There's more?" A flicker of understanding passed through Mifune's eyes. He had suspected the Raikage's motives weren't so straightforward. Given that the Akatsuki had already become a global threat, no shinobi village would tolerate their existence. If that were the only goal, A wouldn't have needed to seek a private alliance. Though Mifune harbored these thoughts, he remained courteous. "What else would you propose, Lord Raikage?" "I want you to fully support my appointment as the Allied Shinobi Force's Supreme Commander." A revealed his true objective. This, in principle, does not violate the Land of Iron's neutrality. In exchange, you may name your terms. "I see." Mifune fell into contemplation once more, visibly conflicted. A, however, waited patiently, making no effort to rush him. Outside the room, Kaido, relying on his extraordinary sensory abilities, listened silently to their conversation and smirked. The 4th Raikage, A, truly lives up to his title as Kage. The Land of Iron, despite its strict neutrality to avoid entanglement in shinobi conflicts, was not entirely incorruptible. In this case, as the summit's moderator, Mifune indeed held the authority to propose motions. Moreover, given his neutral position, his suggestions, though not decisive, would carry significant weight. Technically, such actions wouldn't violate his principles as the Land of Iron's general. And since there were negotiable terms, Kaido was certain Mifune was tempted. But Kaido didn't care. Even if these villages inevitably formed alliances, They would soon realize their efforts were meaningless once they faced the 10 tails. The coming war was nothing like what they imagined. This wasn't about interests or past grudges. It was a battle for the survival of the entire world. Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, at the quarters where Tsunade resided, Gaara, accompanied by Temari and Kankuro, knocked lightly on the door. When the door opened, Kakashi was surprised to see them. Gaara. No, Lord Kazekage. Please, come in. However, upon entering, Gaara found Tsunade engaged in lively conversation with another Kunoichi. Gaara? Tsunade smiled at him. This is the 5th Mizukage. Lord Mizukage. Gaara nodded politely. My, so this is the Kazekage? The Mizukage turned to him with an alluring smile. A pleasure. I am the 5th Mizukage, Maître Mummy. 5th Kazekage, Gaara. He took a seat on the sofa, posture rigid. Mai chuckled. So young, yet already a Kage. Impressive. You flatter me. Gaara replied stiffly. Mai's playful gaze lingered, making Gaara feel increasingly uncomfortable. Sensing his discomfort, Tsunade intervened. Gaara, was there something you wanted to discuss? Regarding tomorrow's summit, I assume you've already formed some conclusions. Gaara remained formal. Since Hidden Sand Village and Hidden Leaf Village are allies, I hoped we could align on certain issues. I see. Tsunade glanced at Mai, who was still eyeing Gaara with amusement, and her eyebrow twitched. Mizukage, what are your objectives for this meeting? Objectives? Finally diverting her attention from Gaara, Mai ran a hand through her hair and smiled. Broadly speaking, the annihilation of the Akatsuki. In that case, would you like to join our discussion? Tsunade asked neutrally. It would be my pleasure. Mai agreed without hesitation. After all, she hadn't sought out the Hokage without an agenda. Elsewhere in the castle, in the Sushi Kage's quarters. Old man. Kurotsuchi burst into the room. Onoki, leisurely sipping tea, looked up. Brat, what's the matter? Old man. Kurotsuchi snatched the teacup from his hands and set it down forcefully. How can you just sit here drinking tea? TCH. Onoki frowned. The summit doesn't start until tomorrow. What else am I supposed to do? Old man. Kurotsuchi leaned in and whispered urgently. The Raikage met privately with General Mifune, and the Mizukage and Kazekage both went to the Hokage's room. Oh? Onoki picked up his teacup again, unfazed. They're all forming alliances. Kurotsuchi fretted. You're the only one left out. If this continues, you'll be at a disadvantage in the negotiations. Humphrey. Onoki smirked dismissively. No need to worry. Mifune won't abandon the Land of Iron's neutrality. As the moderator, he can propose motions but can't dictate decisions. So even if he agreed to A's demands, it won't change much. As for the other three, his eyes narrowed. They'll never truly unite. Chapter 319, as Kaido had anticipated, Mifune ultimately reached a consensus with A. During the upcoming 5 Kage summit the next day, Mifune would not only support A's proposal to unite the major shinobi villages in a joint operation against the Akatsuki but would also endorse A as the commander of the allied forces. Once the two had settled their terms and solidified their agreement, A promptly took his leave. Afterward, Mifune spent some time in contemplation before summoning several subordinates to issue new orders. In his view, a full-scale war against the Akatsuki was now inevitable following this summit. Even if it remained uncertain whether the Land of Iron would participate in the conflict, it was necessary to begin preparations for war in advance. Based on Kaido's private observations during this time, Mifune was, by all accounts, a man of integrity. His agreement to cooperate with A was likely because the Raikage's proposal aligned with his own thoughts. After all, the eradication of the Akatsuki had become a shared goal among the shinobi villages, and A, the Raikage of Hidden Cloud's village, the only village with no known ties to the organization, was indeed the most suitable candidate to lead the allied forces. With that settled, the night passed without incident. Kotaro, the samurai under Kaido's control, was relieved from duty in the middle of the night and managed to rest for a few hours. The following morning, after breakfast, Kaido, still disguised as Kotaro, followed Mifune to the top floor of the castle, where the summit was officially set to take place, and resumed his role as a guard. Before long, the 5 Kage from the great shinobi villages arrived on time, each accompanied by their respective bodyguards. The conference hall was arranged with a massive U-shaped table, and the walls were adorned with 5 flags, each bearing one of the following characters in order: lightning, earth, fire, wind, and water. As the attendees entered the room, the 5 Kage took their seats beneath their respective banners, while their guards positioned themselves on the elevated platform behind the flags. Finally, Mifune sat at the head of the table in the moderator's seat, flanked by 2 samurai standing behind him. Meanwhile, Kaido remained stationed outside the conference hall doors, keenly perceiving every development within. Welcome, everyone. I am Mifune, the moderator of this summit. With that, the 5 Kage summit shall now commence. Mifune's voice rang out, officially declaring the meeting open. Listen up. The Raikage, slammed his palm on the table. You all know why I called for this summit, don't you? Humphrey, the Raikage would do well to curb his arrogance. Onoki retorted with a sidelong glance. Please conduct yourself appropriately, Lord Raikage. Mifune reminded him. TCH. A's gaze swept across the other 4 Kage with visible irritation. Whether it's Hidden Stones Village, Hidden Leaf Village, Hidden Sand Village, or Hidden Mist Village. The Akatsuki is made up of missing ninja from your villages. I have reason to suspect that some of you are secretly pulling their strings. Impossible. Tsunade stated flatly. And how can you be so sure, Hokage? A's eyes narrowed in suspicion. After all, some of you have exploited the Akatsuki's power more than once. As he spoke the last sentence, he shot a pointed glare at Onoki. What is the meaning of this? Gaara inquired, prompting curious looks from the others toward the Sushi Kage. Onoki didn't deny it. I merely hired them to carry out certain wartime missions to minimize my village's losses. The Akatsuki did operate as a mercenary group in the past. Gaara acknowledged. Onoki nodded. But that doesn't mean I could control them. He said calmly. Now that nearly every village's Jinchuriki has fallen into the Akatsuki's hands, Hidden Leaf Village seems the most suspicious. I said it's impossible. Tsunade replied coldly. Hidden Leaf Village wouldn't do such a thing. Gaara spoke in her defense. I was once a Jinchuriki captured by the Akatsuki, and my tailed beast was extracted. Hidden Leaf Village was the only village that answered my plea for help. I scoffed. So what if they helped? You still lost your tailed beast in the end. And let's not forget. The masked man who captured Killer Bee possessed the Sharingan. There's something I should mention. Matru Mummy interjected. In Hidden Mist Village, we have long suspected that the previous Mizukage, Yagura, was under someone's control. Likely the Akatsuki's doing. Onoki immediately seized the opportunity. Yagura was a Jinchuriki, wasn't he? Such a feat could only be accomplished by the Sharingan. Are you all unaware? Tsunade tapped the table sharply, producing a crisp sound. Not long ago, the Akatsuki attacked Hidden Leaf Village to capture the Nine Tails. We suffered heavy losses. Many of our comrades died in that battle. Even if it wasn't Hidden Leaf Village, it could still be someone connected to it. Onoki remained unmoved. From what I've heard, Kaido has appeared in Hidden Leaf Village before. The Sushi Kage certainly has his ways of gathering intel on other villages. Tsunade remarked dryly. Onoki didn't deny it. This is merely standard intelligence gathering. Something every village engages in. Hokage. Slammed the table again. Is Kaido connected to the Akatsuki? In a certain sense, the Akatsuki is indeed under my control. Hearing this, Kaido, still standing outside the conference hall, allowed himself a silent smirk. No. Tsunade denied firmly. Kaido has clashed with the Akatsuki on multiple occasions. And as I've said before, the Akatsuki does not answer to any single force. How can you be so certain? Gaara asked. Because. Tsunade's voice grew grave. As the village that has fought the Akatsuki directly, I possess verified intelligence. Their leader possesses the Rinnegan. What? Is this true? The others reacted with shock. The revelation was staggering. Even Gaara and Mai, who had spoken privately the day before, were hearing this for the first time. The Rinnegan. Onoki's brow furrowed deeply. The legendary eyes of the Sage of Six Paths. Mai turned to Tsunade. It seems the Akatsuki is far more dangerous than we imagined. Indeed. Gaara agreed. This means they don't just have a few S-rank missing ninja and the power of 8-tailed beasts. They possess something far greater. If it's the Rinnegan. A's suspicion toward Tsunade only intensified. Then how the hell did Hidden Leaf Village manage to repel them? Hidden Leaf Village paid a price in exchange for intelligence from Kaido. Tsunade revealed her prepared answer. Jiraiya exploited the element of surprise and defeated their leader. Intelligence? Onoki's interest was piqued. At this point, Lady Hokage, shouldn't you share this information with the rest of us? I'm willing to pay for it. I declared bluntly, cutting straight to the point. Everyone. Mifune spoke up from his seat. I propose that, for the sake of eliminating the Akatsuki, a threat to the entire shinobi world, you unite and form an allied shinobi force. The 5 Kage exchanged glances, each showing varying degrees of consideration. I agree. Gaara was the first to voice his approval. Tsunade and Mai also nodded in assent. I'm in. Stated decisively. Onoki was the last to respond. Naturally, I have no objections. However, once this alliance is formed, who will command it? Chapter 320, it had arrived. And Mifune exchanged a glance. After a light cough, Mifune took over the conversation. From all considerations, I propose that the position of Allied Forces commander should be entrusted to Lord Raikage. Hey. Onoki chuckled twice. In terms of experience, I believe I am the more suitable candidate. I refuse to back down. Among those present, I am the only one who has no ties whatsoever to the Akatsuki. Lord Hokage, Lord Kazekage, Lord Mizukage, what do you think? Onoki attempted to shift the discussion toward the others. In his mind, no matter who was seated here, they would surely want to seize the position of commander for themselves. Even if they had colluded with Mifune, it would be futile. However, the other three remained silent, seemingly content to watch as A and Onoki clashed. Yet A clearly had no intention of letting them remain on the sidelines. He pressed them to voice their opinions. The three of you, it would be best to speak your minds. Indeed. Mifune chimed in again. Everyone, it would be wise to settle the matter of the Allied Forces commander during this meeting so that we can proceed with planning our next steps. Is that so? An unfamiliar voice suddenly echoed through the conference room. A swirling spatial distortion abruptly appeared in midair. So, you still haven't chosen a commander? Who's there? The five Kage looked up sharply. Simultaneously, the guards stationed on the second floor leaped down, landing on the conference table in defensive stances, shielding their respective Kage. A blurred figure emerged from the spatial vortex, gradually becoming clearer. Hello. Greeted a strange man wearing an orange-yellow spiral mask as he landed in the center of the room, waving his hand in an almost comical manner. Obito. Kakashi instinctively called out. The masked man turned his head slightly to glance at Kakashi standing on the table but did not respond. You bastard. A flash of lightning erupted as A's fist suddenly pierced through Obito's body. You dare show your face before me again? Ah, Lord Raikage. Obito remained unfazed, looking down at the fist embedded in his chest, his voice growing colder. There's nothing I wouldn't dare to do. After all, I successfully took the Eight Tails Jinchuriki right under your nose, didn't I? A's eyes widened in fury, his emotions erupting to their peak. Bolts of lightning crackled from his body, shattering the conference table and forcing the others to swiftly retreat. Enough. Obito twisted his body and phased away. Today's main attraction isn't me. By now, due to the unexpected disturbance in the conference room, Kaido had already assumed a guarded stance and rushed in alongside the other samurai guards from the corridor outside, watching the blood puppet's performance. This guy. Kaito was slightly surprised. Was the blood puppet always this lively? It must be influenced by Obito's body. He remembered. Obito had been exactly this lively in the past. Ah, and that white Zetsu, who was turned into a consciousness vessel, was the same way. In any case, Kaito refused to acknowledge that the blood puppet's personality was shaped by his own spiritual energy. Meanwhile, the standoff on the field continued. The enraged A redirected his fury toward Hidden Leaf Village, glaring at Kakashi and Tsunade. You know him? This bastard who kidnapped B really is a ninja from your village. Kekeke, that's right. I was indeed once a shinobi of Hidden Leaf Village. Obito seized the opportunity to activate his dujutsu once more, and another figure emerged from the spatial vortex. But that's all irrelevant now. He now stood behind Nagato, his hoarse voice dripping with cold amusement. From here on, let the leader speak to you. Everyone. Nagato's icy, indifferent gaze swept across the room. I am Nagato, leader of the Akatsuki. You're the leader of the Akatsuki? I charged forward. Where is my brother? The Eight Tails? Nagato extended his hand calmly, releasing a localized burst of repulsive force that blocked A's sudden assault. He is already dead. A's eyes bulged with rage as he was sent flying. Dust-style, detachment of the primitive world. Onoki, floating in midair, thrust his hands forward, unleashing a beam of white light. Pretapath. Nagato fearlessly reached toward the beam, instantly absorbing all the chakra composing the technique. Impossible? Onoki froze in shock. Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi, standing behind Onoki, stared in disbelief. He actually caught the Sushi Kage's particle style with his bare hands? Kurotsuchi exclaimed. That's the power of the Rinnegan. Tsunade interjected. He can freely absorb chakra. Then we'll use taijutsu. A lunged forward again with a punch, while Darui followed closely with a slash of his sword. Enough. Nagato's body suddenly levitated, hovering above them as he looked down. Fighting now is meaningless. I am merely a shadow clone. Indeed. The blood puppet chimed in from his perch on the windowsill, grinning. The leader means to say it's not yet time for battle. Nagato, leader of the Akatsuki. Gaara, who had remained composed throughout, spoke up. What is your purpose here? My purpose? There is one. Nagato's voice remained devoid of emotion, as if he were a god gazing down upon mortals. The Akatsuki has gathered the chakra of all the tailed beasts and will soon awaken the invincible ultimate weapon. The demonic statue of the outer path. What? When? Gaara stiffened, turning to Tsunade. Naruto. Tsunade shook her head. Don't worry. Naruto is safe. Though we didn't obtain the 9 tails. Obito sighed in mock disappointment before immediately brightening. We did acquire the 9 tails chakra from the Gold and Silver brothers. Darue frowned. How? Those two have been dead for years. There are always ways. Obito replied cheerfully. Orochimaru? Kakashi immediately pieced it together. Looked confused. What do you mean? Summoning, impure world reincarnation. Kakashi said grimly. Do not speak of unnecessary things, Obito. Nagata reprimanded him before addressing the group again. The demonic statue possesses the power to destroy the world. From this moment onward, the Akatsuki will dictate the rules of the shinobi world. What is your goal? Onoki demanded. The Akatsuki's long-held desire. Nagato declared, spreading his arms. World peace. The room fell into stunned silence as everyone stared at the floating figure, wondering if they had misheard. You don't believe me? Nagato's cold eyes swept over them. For years, you great nations have waged war for your own gains, while the smaller nations caught in your conflicts have suffered endlessly. From today onward, your era is over. So, you mean? Gaara, still skeptical, looked up at him. You intend to use this ultimate weapon to intimidate the great nations into achieving peace? Correct. Nagato nodded. So, resist me. Only by experiencing pain will you understand the value of peace. I await you all in Hidden Rain Village. Poof. His body dissolved into white smoke. I hereby declare. The Fourth Shinobi World War begins now. Chapter 321, That's How It Is. Standing on the windowsill. Obito's body gradually vanished into a swirling spatial vortex. Well then, farewell, everyone. Obito. Kakashi lunged forward, reaching out, but he was a step too late. His hand closed around nothing but empty air. Damn it. It took several deep breaths, barely suppressing his explosive fury. He strode forward, grabbing Kakashi by the collar with a cold, menacing tone. You know that guy? He was a former teammate of mine. Kakashi muttered, his voice hollow as he hung his head. Obito Uchiha. Another Uchiha. Snapped his head toward Tsunade, his glare sharp. Hokage, you owe us an explanation. Obito was. Kakashi raised his head, his gaze firm. The mastermind behind the Nine Tails attack on Hidden Leaf Village 15 years ago. And the reason the fourth Hokage sacrificed his life. Onoki, floating nearby, suddenly understood. So that's how it is. No wonder such a thing happened back then. I always thought it was strange that Hidden Leaf Village would suffer the Nine Tails rampage and lose the fourth Hokage. But now that we know the enemy possesses space-time ninjutsu and the Mengekyo Sharingan, it all makes sense. Humphrey. Released Kakashi but remained aggressive. Right now, Hidden Leaf Village holds the most intel on the Akatsuki. Since we've all agreed to form an alliance, you should share it. I have no objections. Tsunade agreed readily but added. However, it would be best to disclose the intel after we've confirmed the alliance's commander. The earlier discussion about selecting a commander had been abruptly interrupted. Now that Tsunade brought it up again, tensions flared once more. The Raikage and Tsuchikage remained locked in a stalemate over the position of alliance commander, while the other 3 Kage continued to observe. Only Mifune attempted to mediate. Seeing this, Kaido quietly followed the other samurai out of the meeting room. To him, it didn't matter who became the commander of the Shinobi Alliance. As for the impending war between the Shinobi Alliance and the Akatsuki, he had no intention of making an appearance right from the start. Sending a paper clone here was merely to witness the spectacle. What happened next would depend on how the Kage resolved their discussions. Inside the Moon's castle. After securing food and eating a meal, Kaito instructed Team Sasuke and Team Hyuga to find rooms and rest. Donarai, now completely stripped of his chakra, was imprisoned alone in a room sealed with barriers. Meanwhile, in another chamber, Kaido recounted the events of the 5 Kage summit to Madara, Izuna, and Hikaku. So, the war is about to begin. Izuna mused, a hint of anticipation in his voice. That means your plan has entered a new phase. Kaito nodded. We don't need to intervene at the start. Everything is leading to the final battle against Kaguya. In that case, those fools stand no chance against the Ten Tails. Madara scoffed dismissively. Kaito smiled faintly. The main actors must always make their entrance at the critical moment. Speaking of which, Izuna shot him a sidelong glance. What about that yokai revival plan of yours? If it doesn't succeed soon, it'll be too late to matter. Kaito sighed. It's still not quite there yet. Then what's the point? Izuna sneered. With so many Uchiha now under your command, you already have plenty of cards to play. Yokai are just yokai. Even if you revive them, controlling them won't be easy. Kaito shook his head. Aside from Kaguya, there are other Otsutsuki out there in the cosmos. You can never have too many cards to play. As for the greater yokai, I don't need absolute control over them. An alliance against the Otsutsuki will suffice. And after this war, we'll secure complete control over the Pure Land. As long as you know what you're doing. Izuna relented, dropping the subject. I do. Kaito assured. This war will also accelerate the revival plan. Patriarch. Hikaku raised his hand. If the war is about to start and you still have other matters to attend to, why are we staying on the moon? Simple. Kaito stood up, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. We're here to inspect Kaguya's seal. And if possible, lay down some preparations in advance. Madara's interest was piqued. You can locate Kaguya's seal? Kaito walked to the castle's floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the distant floating stone shrine in the sky. We'll start by going there. How do you plan to do it? Madara asked. The other three joined him by the window. We'll figure it out once we arrive. Kaito flicked a talisman into the air, transforming it into a small paper crane that flew out of the room. First, I'll assign Sasuke a task. Looting the castle will be his responsibility. Then, he stepped onto the balcony outside the window and leaped over the railing. The wind howled as Kaito glided effortlessly through the air, landing gracefully before the shrine's massive stone gate. When he turned, he saw Madara flying toward him, carrying Hikaku and Izuna by their collars. Hikaku, held in Madara's left hand, looked around in awe, while Izuna, dangling from his right, wore an expression of utter resignation, his small ponytail fluttering in the wind. PFFT. Kaito stifled a laugh, quickly turning back to the shrine's gate with a neutral expression as they landed. Hey, brat. Izuna suddenly slung an arm over Kaito's shoulder from behind. Were you just laughing at me? Kaito turned, feigning innocence. What do you mean, senor? Don't play dumb. Izuna scoffed before shooting a glare at Madara. I was planning to come here on my own. Kaito sighed dramatically. Senior, there's no need to explain. I didn't find anything about the situation laughable. Humphrey. Izuna turned away, sulking. Kaito blinked, glancing at the other two. Hikaku offered an awkward smile. Madara, however, remained utterly indifferent, striding past them into the shrine without a word. Kaito shrugged at Izuna before quickly following Madara inside. The two soon found themselves in the shrine's main hall. After a long silence, Hikaku, seeing that Izuna still hadn't moved, grinned and slung an arm over his shoulder. Let's go, Lord Izuna. Meanwhile, the two who had entered first surveyed the shrine's interior. Kaito chuckled. Senior, do you enjoy teasing your little brother sometimes? How mischievous. Pa. Madara smirked slightly. Someone without a brother wouldn't understand. I suppose not. Kaito walked to the center of the hall, gazing up at the enormous stone sphere resting on the platform. This is. He stroked his chin, circling the sphere and examining the intricate patterns carved into its surface. Suddenly, his eyes lit up with realization.